Aloha and welcome back, shifters, light guardians, hackers within this holographic matrix. This is your fellow captain speaking, Brendon, aka Skull Babylon, Mystic Spider-Man, Skull the Wolf, Wolf Shield. I got a few names, but welcome and thank you so much once again for joining in to another Paradigm Shift Central Synergy Circle, a gathering of conscious creators and leaders, shifters, people who are intentionally working together to be able to help assist with the shift in consciousness. This is an awesome opportunity that we have been creating here through the Paradigm Shift Central live project, the Paradigm Shift Central project, live every Sundays for the past little while now at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're listening to this in the future, know that you can always catch us here live on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and watch it. Make sure you're subscribed on youtube.com/Skull Babylon to be able to tune in there. And for those of you listening live on YouTube, drop an 1111 in the chat to make sure that you can hear me okay. And for those of you tuned in on Facebook, please feel free to jump over to youtube.com/Skull Babylon to join the live chat there after you've shared it on Facebook. And whatever works for you is totally cool. And we'll get right into another awesome synergy circle that we got ahead to be able to grow and learn together and get inspiration as we come together here at this round table to be able to take part in the bigger story. And before we get further into that story, of course, I just want to acknowledge the fellow amazing shifters that we have live with us here during tonight's Synergy Circle, tonight's live broadcast. So fellow shifters, go ahead and gently unmute your microphones and make some animal noises and just like send some love. Let's make those like what noises do fairies make? They're like, I don't know. Quick, someone give me a fairy noise.
Magical sounds.
Wizard noises. Wizard lightning bolt. Perfect. There we go. That was awesome. All right, the love has definitely been sent out. Thank you again, everyone. So we got on tonight's broadcast. Again, I'm Brendon. Welcome if it's your first time here. We got Caitlin with us, we got Jacob, we got Bevin, and we also have Eddie. And so for those of you who may be entirely new to this, I'll just give you a quick overview of what to be able to expect and what the Paradigm Shift Central project is. One of the things that I highly encourage you to do, especially if you haven't already yet, is to connect to our new Paradigm Shift Central Instagram page at instagram.com/Paradigm Shift Central with some periods after paradigm and after shift. So paradigm.shift.central. Just type in Paradigm Shift Central and you'll find it anyways. And you can also connect to me at Mystic Spider-Man and it will link you to the new account there. But we are a team of shifters, a team of people who are working together to be able to help assist with the shift in consciousness. And in particular, a lot of us are really focused as conscious creators and leaders, media creators, people who are creating content on YouTube, who are creating inspirational art to be able to help change the world, who are providing our services, who are providing our leadership to be able to help find people, to bring people together, to create conscious community where we are, to go out there and to do things like free hugs, to be able to plant seeds, to be able to help make ripples that make waves, to be able to spread compassion and kindness where we are, and to help make, again, those meaningful impressions that are helping lead people back to their own heart, people who are awakening within the dream and helping assist and accelerate the shift in consciousness, as I said. So if you're someone who's like, hey, like there's a part of me that's like been awakening to the mysteries and magic of this universe, and now I feel really called to want to make a difference in the world through like art, and just maybe I'm still answering that question, how do I make a difference in this world, and where do I find the other people who are also very passionate and devoted to doing this? And so what we've been doing over the past 10 years here at Paradigm Shift Central, something that I started just as a single club in my college way back in the day, is we are assembling that team. We are assembling that team of real world superheroes, of light guardians is another term that we use. You can almost think of it as like modern day gray Jedi, especially getting excited about the new Star Wars release coming up, especially as we kind of, again, ramp ourselves into this, again, December 21st, solstice energy, moving into the new year. The intention that I constantly want to bring us back to as we gather here at these synergy circles, at these round tables, is to be able to reflect on the question of what is needed. And I think the answer to that question is for us to continue to be devoted to showing up in the best ways we can, to be able to focus on ourselves, give ourselves what we need, and then to show up in service. And so that is, again, like something that I feel is what a shifter is. Someone who is constantly learning, growing, showing up in service, and again, helping make a difference through the magic of their art and through the magic of their kindness and whatever type of magic that you bring into this world. So thank you to the people listening to this for being a shifter. So for those of you who haven't already yet, again, Paradigm Shift Central on Instagram, Mystic Spider-Man on Instagram, make sure you're connected with me there. That's kind of like our big place where you can like make sure you're staying with updates, and also check out paradigmshiftcentral.com. You can explore more there. You can connect to our team chat for those of you who would like to connect deeper, and of course you can even connect and join as a leading member, which is through the Patreon. And Patreon is a cool website where you can sign up to support artists with monthly micro contributions that you love and to get cool rewards. And we'll be talking about Patreon tonight, because what I want to be able to move this discussion towards tonight is something that's going to provide a lot of value for people who are listening to this, who are also in that similar mindset of, hey, like, what if I want to create a Patreon? Or what if I want to be able to make a living providing conscious service or making art? Like, whoa, that's a crazy idea. How do I do that? Can I do it? So that's going to be a big part of the discussion tonight, as well as it is an ongoing intention of this project. Is for what, as I said this before, one of my goals with creating like the leading member option within Paradigm Shift Central through the Patreon is to be able to help fellow creators become self-sustained in doing what they love for a living, meaning to be able to like build their own Patreon, or to be able to create their own regenerative income that's allowing them to open up into more of that freedom, to escape the 9 to 5, to be able to kind of like, you know, provide even more global impact. And then collectively, this is the basic vision, going back to the question of what is needed. Oh, I think this world needs a bunch of badass conscious entrepreneurs and creators who are self-sustained and doing what they love for a living. Do you guys agree? Like, isn't that like a great thing that would make a difference in the world? Like literally just 100 of those would make a big difference. So what happens when there's more and more of those? So that's why I built this project. That's why this project has evolved. One of the many reasons why we've created this project, and that's a big part of it right now, is me kind of creating the sacred digital space through these synergy circles, through the content that we're creating through our Paradigm Shift Central Instagram page and the main website, to be able to help manifest that, to support each other as a community. And so through Paradigm Shift Central, it's really a portal for us as a team of creators to be able to feature our work, to be able to connect with more people, to develop a relationship, to be able to receive the additional support of community. And it's a really, really powerful thing. So we'll talk more about Patreon in general, but just as a quick synopsis, again, for those of you who may be brand new to this, I encourage you to check out the Patreon. We got a lot of cool rewards there, but with the option of joining as a leading member at the 1111, that allows you to be on air during these broadcasts, to be involved with our scheduled work periods, to have access to our team chat, to be able to have access to me as a media consultant coach, and other rewards, including getting a Lumerian light guarding crystal at the $11 level, and also other cool rewards such as like being able to like have like a private one-on-one tarot reading with me, and discounts for the quest item shop, which is like the shift buttons and the free hug signs, and again the Lumerian crystals. So thank you again to our Patreon supporters. We're working our way towards 200 by 2020, and we're currently at about like almost 145 at the time of this broadcast. So thank you again, everyone. And you can sign up at any level. You don't have to be involved as a leading member, but we create that level and that option to really like invite others who are passionate about being able to support each other and learn and grow, and to be able to utilize the support of the Paradigm Shift Central project to help you in growing and reaching more people. So that's exactly why we're doing. That's why we're here. That's it. That's all you have to know. And now from here, we're going to start passing the talking stick around the circle to be able to share updates so that you can get to know some of the other creators here. And through this discussion tonight, I really want us to kind of be able to brainstorm and again, provide value for those of you who may be tuned into this, who are starting to think along the similar lines, or are just curious to hear fellow conscious entrepreneurs kind of like talking about what they do for a living and kind of like getting more clarity. And again, us talking about it is going to help other people get clarity just by listening to us and get some ideas flowing. So I'm really looking forward to being able to provide that value to anybody who's tuned into this. And again, check out the Patreon when you get a chance if you're a fellow conscious creator and you want to connect further. And yeah, so moving into this, quick updates. The Paradigm Shift Central team Instagram page, which actually I'm just gonna see if I can pull this up. Actually, no, I'll just explain it. I don't want to do a screen share right now. So the Paradigm Shift Central team Instagram page, hand up for the fellow leading members in here who have been like seeing what we've been doing with it. Like, I assume like Bevin, you've been seeing it. Caitlin, you've kind of like, have you been seeing the team page with like the kind of like the way how we're featuring different creators and stuff yet? If yeah, you have. Yeah. And yeah. So again, in terms of quick updates, I just want to be able to talk about the Paradigm Shift Central Instagram page because that's like a key thing. Other than that, I was just gonna mention real quick, and I'll just do this first. We had an awesome meditation on the 12/12/12 date, so December 12th. Did a really beautiful full moon meditation there. Thank you again to those of you who came out to that, and you can listen to the recording online at any time, and it's really valuable. And there was like a lot of like stone circles and wizardry and druidness and like magic, like chanting circles and sound and all sorts of cool stuff, and like sacred warrior archetype, and being able to create that was just again something that I'm really happy we were able to create, and I'm just sharing that as a quick update to let people know that that went well and to encourage people to check it out. And again, if you just go to Skull Babylon on YouTube, you can find it there, or just go through the Paradigm Shift Central website or Paradigm Shift Radio on iTunes as well. This week we got Star Wars coming up, so I'm going to be focusing on like a lot of like Star Wars content, because again, that's kind of like tapping into something that I'm really excited about, and something that really reflects a lot of like the powerful themes and archetypes that we play with within Paradigm Shift Central. Because a lot of what I want to create within Paradigm Shift Central, even going back to this vision of the project actually being again like a version of gamification, of being a game, which is something that we've talked about within the Paradigm Shift Central, but sometimes I kind of put the concept on the back shelf in order to be able to like just like keep it simple. But for people involved with this, essentially like, yeah, like what is the game we're playing? The game is to be able to like help make a difference in the world. And how do we play it? By kind of like stepping into our avatar to become our like sacred warrior light guardian versions of ourselves. And so in the same way you like kind of play like Skyrim or World of Warcraft, you're like crafting your character, you're leveling up. That's essentially what we're doing. And so even just right now with the people who are here as leading members, this is like me being like, hey, like I've created this space for us to play this game. Like, who wants to play with me? Like, who wants to play this fucking really cool, badass game? That's real life. And every single day you're like making progress and like making a difference. And it's through social media, and it's through real world action. And it's through building your Patreon. And it's like moving into that place where you're just like, holy cow, like this is really inspiring. And I'm like in a place where I like have more freedom and I can help other people. So that's part of the game. And again, with the meditation we did, and with all the stuff that we're doing, the Star Wars, it's really kind of inviting people to bring forth that archetype in them that is like their vision of like their kind of like magical version of themselves, like that activated Jedi warrior sacred guardian type version, golden version of themselves, to kind of play with that and bring it in as like emergence with this like that 5D version of ourselves with the 3D, and kind of like merge those realms. That's something that I'm really passionate about. So without having to say too much more, the other thing that I just wanted to share, because I wanted to invite people here to kind of like share something, even just a quick story, in addition to introducing yourself and stuff, that's like something kind of cool or synchronistic, something that was really meaningful to you that might have happened recently. It could have been on the full moon or whatever. And I just wanted to share, because again, this is like something that's by people listening to it, they could be like, oh cool, maybe I could do that too. Basically tonight, and I've done this multiple times, is I go into the woods and I just kind of like meditate there, and I kind of like get into my own space. I'm kind of like doing like flow, qigong, tai chi, no particular like actual like list of moves, but just kind of fluidly moving. And I was also like making a stone circle. Like I literally made a stone circle with like stones that I found, and just kind of like created this like sacred space in the forest for myself. And it was really cool. Tonight in particular, when I went down there, this has only happened once other time. There was like a family of deer when I went down there. So like I went down to my regular spot, and then there's like this creek, and they were on the other side of the creek, and it was really cool because I just got to like eye gaze with these deer. And like at first they kind of got startled, but then I was like, okay, like I'll just chill out. And then they chilled out, and then we were just kind of like looking at each other, and it was like really cool. And I don't know like how many people have been able to like eye gaze with a deer. But I got to kind of do that, and I've done it, that like it literally happened the last time. So I feel like it was like the same family of deer. And honestly, there was like this moment where they were kind of leaving. And I have a little bit of it on footage, and you kind of like see like a row of them, and there's kind of like this beam of light, and it literally was like an actual real life recreation of the scene from Princess Mononoke, when they like see the forest spirit for the first time, like walking through the woods. If anyone knows exactly what I mean, you know what I mean. But it was like literally that with like these like family of deer, and I was just kind of like, I was like, oh, that's like so precious, and just kind of like this little magical moment. And again, I think a big part of us being here, this community, this game, is just kind of helping us see the magic that is in everyday life. And even in that moment, there was like a little bit of snow, so there was like, it wasn't like snowing hard, but it was like these like kind of like, the snow just kind of looked like energy, just kind of like floating in the air, and it felt very mystical and very magical. And even though I was like in the middle of a suburban area, this little piece of forest still felt like it was just like this really sacred, magical space. And again, I think us being like able to kind of know that those are always there and be able to find them, is just like a really heart opening thing. So that's basically all I wanted to share. And yeah, going back to the team Instagram page, quick update on that. Basically, it's happening. The tactics with that are yielding success. The team Instagram page is now almost at 1,300, so 1,300, and it's building. And basically the way we're working with that, and I'll just explain real quick because I want to invite people to play this game with me of engaging on this Instagram page. Monday to Friday, we post between 3 and 5 p.m. a new featured creator. And so if you're on Instagram, know this time schedule and think, okay, Monday to Friday. Oh, is it between 3 and 5? Oh, sweet. I'll check the Paradigm Shift Central Instagram page. And when we do that, we always post 3 posts at a time. We post like kind of like videos of what person does, an IGTV, and then kind of like individual pictures. And the format for this is specifically created to help drive people to connecting with the person that we're featuring. And the way how I've set it up is with the intention to invite the person watching to be able to develop relationship with the person being featured. If we put enough, not just like enough, but the right format of content in front of them, it's a cool chance for them to like suddenly get introduced to this person and to be like, oh, this person's really cool. I really like their stuff. Yeah, I'm going to follow them. Like I feel called to follow them. And so through that, it's about opening up more genuine relationship for people that we are featuring through the content, through the page, to be able to like, for the audience, for the people following, to be able to like connect with them and to follow these other creators. And again, even for, you know, the people here, for Bevin, for Caitlin, for Jacob, like all of you have content that we'll be able to feature through the Instagram page. And when we do, numbers wise, accounts are getting between like 50 and 100 new follows within 24 hours of people like connecting with them through the page. And again, like the big thing that I'll repeat tonight when it comes to like building successful Patreons and things like that, you don't need high numbers. You could find within those like 50 new connections legitimate relationships where people are like, hey, I really recognize your value and what you're creating, and I want to be able to support, and where do I sign up and things like that. So that's kind of the vision is the Instagram page is growing, and it's becoming this very powerful tool that's allowing us to help feature each other through the community. And it feels really good for me to be able to bring this into vision, because I've literally had the vision for this page a year ago, and it's only within the last like couple months that it's kind of formulated, and now it's breathing, it has life to it. And then on the weekends, what we do is we just post we repost some memes that I've posted from my like personal profile, with the intention of kind of like bringing in like more boost. So this weekend, just tactically, we posted that interesting man in the world meme that's like that we recreated it with Lewis Dyer's art and the psychedelic face. And what does it say exactly? Oh yeah, I don't always incarnate on Earth, but when I do, I usually forget that I'm a psychedelic fractal of infinite consciousness. I think that's what it says. But anyways, people really like that meme, and that meme on on the team page has like 1,000 likes on it now. So us tactically putting it there now brings in like probably, honestly, out of that 1,000, there's probably like probably so far probably about like 50, 60, 70 new follows from that 1,000. And again, that's kind of like building our audience. So our objective is to be able to reach 10K as soon as we can. And I think we're going to get there sooner rather than later, because it's going to start building momentum, and then we'll be able to go further with that. And the 10K is when we can get the swipe up feature. And the last piece of the tactics here, and I'll just finish it off here and we'll pass it around, is the swipe up feature will allow us to direct traffic from the page to the website directly, which will be like featured shift entries through the website. So the shift entries on the website, that's where you guys are like posting your own, like your own logs, your own creations. And we'll talk more about that. And I'll just mention this real quick for the leading members. One thing that we're going to do in January is to be able to have like a scheduled workshop period to be able to help people with creating shift journals. I do have a tutorial video online, but this would actually be like a group of us coming together and people being able to like make things on the spot and check with me, and I'll review it, and by the end of it you'd be like, sweet, okay, I know how to do this properly. And just to get like more people into that rhythm of creating shift entries on the website. And again, for leading members to be able to utilize that space and the fact that the audience is looking in on it, to be able to feature your content, to develop relationship, to invite people to your Patreon, and for you to develop regenerative income to be able to help support you as an artist. And that's a basic vision of what we're kind of creating here with Paradigm Shift, is again serving that vision of how can I help more of my friends become self-sustained conscious creators, so that the world can like, have that, us like helping make a difference in the world through that way. And it's about being able to create the platform so that your content can be seen by more people, and then so that those people can develop like relationship through seeing your content. And then out of that, that's where you get like your Patreon signups and your things like that. So yeah, keep an eye open for that workshop for shift entry creation, and we'll talk more about that later. But other than that, updates, again, Instagram page is doing awesome. Updates, post for that Monday to Friday between 3 and 5, and post 3 at a time. 3 like the image, the IGTV, and the videos at a time. So if you see one, go to the page and manually like all 3 and comment and share to stories, and that helps us reach 10K. And yeah, other than that, I'll be working on like my goal by the end of the month is to reach 200 on Patreon. So this week I'll be doing a live tarot reading, a lot of live broadcasts to be able to help invite people to that. And again, me doing that, we'll talk more about that in the broadcast, how each of us here could utilize the tactic of doing live broadcasts combined with a Patreon, creating the conditions and directing people to the Patreon sign up during a live broadcast. And within that, that's like, what if every live broadcast you did, you could get like 2 people, 3 people sign up to your Patreon? Like, just kind of open up and you just be like, oh, okay, sweet. And how do I do that? So as we get ready to pass the talking stick around, we'll focus in more on the Patreon. But I mentioned this before the broadcast to Bevin and to Caitlin when they were here, is to just kind of like invite ourselves to ask, to kind of like know that for each of us, there is a reality where we have a successful Patreon page, meaning we have support and we have regenerative income being created through our Patreon page. Knowing that reality exists for each and every single one of us, we kind of ask that question, like, what does that look like? What does that look like? And kind of like asking that question will kind of move us towards that path. What does it look like for Bevin to have a successful Patreon page? What does it look like for Caitlin? What does it look like for any person listening to this? And so during tonight's broadcast, we'll get to talk a little bit more and learn a little bit more about like what Bevin and Caitlin are creating, because both of them are kind of in a similar style, and we're talking about getting the Patreon and stuff. Jacob and Eddie are holding space and adding in insight and clarity, and because again, I know Jacob, give me a thumbs up if you're thinking about creating a Patreon. Jacob, has that been something that's so Jacob? Okay, cool. So I think again, Jacob is a little bit busy with school, but definitely again, Jacob is totally someone who, all of us, like any person here, what happens if we all create Patreons, and what happens if over the next like 5 years we all build those and have regenerative income? Like, yo, that's really, 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 really important. And that has nothing to do with just us like wanting money. That has us to do with like breaking out of the matrix and becoming incredibly powerful creators that are going to make even more global impact. That's what it's about. So this is anything with Paradigm Shift that we've been doing over the years. For those of you who have been paying attention, been here for a while, you'll see that we play the long game. Like, my vision has always been the long game. Like, even that's why I'm like literally thinking generations ahead. And that's why, again, we're 10 years into this project, and even still, like, we're evolving and we're growing and things like that. So anyways, I know I babbled on for a bit, but I hope that gives everybody some additional inspiration and clarity, and just kind of like brings us into a clear kind of like vision of what it is that we're creating here through the uniqueness of Paradigm Shift Central. So let's pass the talking stick around, and we'll pass it. Bevin, can we pass it to you first, since you've been here before, and then from there to either Caitlin, are you okay going after Bevin? Is that cool? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So as they're talking, I'll post the links for Caitlin and Bevin and Jacob and Eddie into the YouTube chat. So again, even during this broadcast, this is an invitation to like go connect with them, check out, learn more. And we'll pass it around. So we'll pass it to Bevin, and Bevin will just kind of introduce what she does. And again, kind of together we'll kind of reflect, like what services am I providing, what high value services am I providing. We'll kind of brainstorm that together. And any other like story of kind of like magic and awe and synchronicity that you would like to share, that would be something that the group would be like, oh cool, and again leading us back to heart. Bevin, passing it over to you. Thank you again so much for being here, and whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Hello, beautiful humans. So yes, I'm Bevin. Goodness. So my path has been a very inward path, and now I've done a lot of really deep self work in order to come out into the world and help other people. And so my path has really evolved around spirituality and self realization, and shifting into 5D consciousness, and transcending 3D consciousness. So now, as I come out into the world and I'm ready to provide services, I'm doing a lot of I'm starting to create YouTube videos talking about different subjects around spirituality, around ascension, around just really like being an empowered human being and being embodied in who you truly are as a divine child of the universe. Um, I also am a yoga teacher, so I creating content as well for yoga on YouTube. And one of my passions as well is holistic health and really living a healthy lifestyle and educating others and guiding others into a healthy lifestyle, not just like with healthy ways of living, but also like your state of mind and how you can really take back your own power and have a healthy state of mind. um, that's huge. But body and mind also go together, so you need both. You need to be taking care of your mind and also be taking back your power when it comes to your mind. So I did a really awesome, beautiful full moon ceremony. I do full moon ceremonies every month, and I also try and do new moon ceremonies as well. With full moon ceremonies, I like to focus on what I want to bring in, and focus on like what seeds am I have in my garden, and what do I need to be nurturing the most? Like, what are my priorities right now in this cycle? So a lot of the times, I'll do dancing, I'll do meditation, I'll do lots of prayer, I'll go outside into nature. I love working with my moon blood, which is a really powerful way to focus your energy and to focus your prayers and to kind of launch yourself on the path that you want to be going down, and also to help yourself transform and transcend things that you're ready to just let go of, and you're ready to just kind of leave them behind and step into new versions of yourself. So I've really been feeling like some really beautiful, magical, positive effects since the full moon. Yesterday I was just so incredibly happy and hyper, and I've been feeling so aligned and like energetically like zinging, really. Just like I feel my vibration is higher, and I feel myself like alchemically inside. I feel myself transforming, and it's quite magical. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm like surrendering to the process, and I'm just allowing the divine intelligence of God, of love, of the universe to transform me in the way that is for my highest and greatest good. And I'm just kind of like going along with for the ride. last night, I stayed up with some friends pretty late and we were all doing our own little projects. And I finished a really special painting that is very deeply symbolic for me spiritually. And it was really funny. I was thinking about, like, what do I want to name this painting? And then I was thinking, I want to name this painting Devotion to the Most High. And it was really weird. It was like right after I thought that, there were like these gold specks of, I don't even know, like they were like material gold specks, like that just seemed to come out of nowhere. And they seemed to like, they were like, I don't know, they like popped right over, like right where I was painting. And I was like, where did these gold specks come from? Like, my they didn't come from my paintbrush. Like, I don't know. It was really weird. It was like one of those like phenomena that you're like, I have no idea what just happened. But I see that as like my angels or my spirit guides, maybe some fairies like blessing me and being like, yeah, you got this, Bevin. And the universe supports your path and your mission and what you're all about. So that was a magical moment for me.
Awesome. The magic moment of the mysterious gold specks. So
Yeah.
let me know if it happens more than once. Then it's a real phenomenon.
Yeah,
Then we'll
seriously.
know. So that's interesting. Cool. All right. Awesome. So Bevin, just taking a moment here to just kind of again like hold space for creative brainstorming and things like that, and then we'll pass it over to Caitlin. If you're again just kind of talking about like Patreon and things like that, have you thought like kind of like what would be kind of like your high value services that you might be able to provide through Patreon? Because again, one of the things that we were talking about before we started this broadcast is that with the Patreon, you know, I think it's really about kind of like owning our value. Like that's actually the first step. And I think that's like a big thing that a lot of people have trouble with. They're like, what? Like, why would people pay me money per month? Dot, dot, dot. But if it's like, if you get to the point where it's like, yo, like, I have a lot of value to provide and my presence is valuable in itself. And so with the Patreon, there's different ways to kind of think about building regenerative income. A great person who I recommend everyone also connect with, who's also a leading member within Paradigm Shift. She's very busy, but she is still here. Is Molly Cubes, who some of you would have seen as a featured creator through the team Instagram page. She does a lot of talk where she focuses on female entrepreneurs to help them kind of like get their business started and to like start making like 10K a month and things like that. So she's kind of doing something similar to Paradigm Shift, but she's got a particular kind of like angle that she approaches it from, and a lot of it is kind of like this mentality of like, oh, okay, I can either get like 100 people to pay me like, like $5 a month, or I can get like 5 people to pay me like $1,000 a month or something like that. So she really kind of like takes it, like what could you offer someone that someone might that would be of such value that you would get someone who would be able to say like, yo, I'll pay $3,000 for your program, I'll pay $4,000 for your program, and things like that. And so at this point it might be hard to kind of like see what that could be, and maybe it's also with the understanding that that's not what you will choose to do. But again, I start inviting people to start begin sort of thinking, oh, like what type of services can I provide, and maybe what would someone pay even like $50 a month for on the Patreon for that support to build. And then suddenly if I can get like 4 people signed up on that, like, whoa, okay, suddenly I'm it's like an extra like $200-$300 of income a month. And then it's this idea of kind of like figuring out how to position your energy. But again, just passing back to you, Bevin, to brainstorm. I'm not expecting you to have like a full answer yet, but just kind of like let your excitement kind of guide you in terms of what would you be most excited about being able to like provide people with. And again, this a lot of times I think when it's like, if I was doing, one-on-one sessions, video calls with people, my presence, what could I hold space for? What could I help like kind of like coach people on things? Anyways, pass it back to you, Bevin. Any just kind of general thoughts on that? And again, for anybody listening, let this just kind of be like brainstorm for all of us. So
I feel like my focus would be around helping people to connect back into their divinity and to connect back into God and the source of, all creation. And, um, really helping people to feel that and experience that and establish that connection with their higher self, with their soul, whatever you want to call it. There's so many names, but it's all the same thing. And really cultivating a clarity within themselves, and really encouraging and guiding people to really just turn their seeking inward, and to help people work through addictions to, there's so many things that we get addicted to externally, and I feel like that would be where my focus would be, is to help people turn inward and to find that power within themselves, and to take back their power, and to know that we are all so capable, and we can create anything. And I think a lot of people feel powerless in their lives, and they feel powerless with different health problems, or mental problems. And I really want to encourage people and help guide people back into, they can heal themselves, and they can change themselves in the ways that they want to, and they can be happy, and they can feel good, and they deserve to, and it's all of our divine right to be able to. So there.
No, that's a good answer too. And have you have you done like
Oh, I
one-on-one
think
video call
Brendon,
session?
your
Oh, sorry.
mic is.
There we go. Okay, now you can hear me. The audience could hear me for a second, but you guys couldn't. No, that's a great answer. And have you done it again? Because I'm asking this because I'm still, this is us like getting to learn about like what we're working on, and build, and develop as a team. Have you done much like one-on-one calls, or like coaching calls, or sessions, one-on-one sessions, or tarot reading sessions? Have you done those much?
I haven't done like actual one-on-one coaching calls or anything like that, but I have worked with a lot of friends, and I have helped a lot of friends with that kind of stuff. And that's like, I feel like that's kind of what I'm becoming known for, is like, if you want to go deep and you have some deep things to like talk to about and come to about, like, people will come to me for that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. And
but
so again, there, I think being able to kind of like focus in on a particular, like, to help, like, I will provide like this to help people, this I will provide service to help people result. And so kind of like figuring out, even starting off at something that you can just kind of like play with, and then start getting feedback on from other people, to kind of check in with them and be like, what do you want me to hold space for? What do you need? What can I do for you? And so again, like, it could be something where it could be like let's talk about, like, dream interpretation. You could, again, like, you could do like the tarot reading option is really, really powerful. And the reason why I like it, and the reason why I recommend it, even for a few of my friends who are kind of like building the Patreon and stuff, is because, again, like, a tarot reading can kind of like be a platform for whatever it needs to be for that person. And so, like, sometimes people just need someone to talk to, and that can be really, really helpful for them. Again, that can be really valuable. That, for some people, would be worth like $100 a month, to be able to like have someone who they talk to for like an hour a week, and just to be, or like an hour, like every other week or something like that. And it's just kind of like literally a check-in. Hey, let's talk about, like, where are you at on your spiritual journey? What were your challenges? What were your wins? And things like that. So this is like kind of like starting to get into like the coaching mentality, if that's something that you kind of like feel moved into. And I think, again, with any creator, it's, and we'll pass over to Caitlin in a second. And I believe Caitlin has some experience as well with kind of like what we're talking about here. But again, it's kind of like, okay, I have like this like high value service that I'm providing, but at the same time, I'm also like creating content that's helping people like learn more about it, learn more about me, learn more about my vibe, and get them into that place where they're more clear on being able to say, like, yes, this person is kind of like someone who I want to connect deeper with. This person's my vibe. And that's kind of the idea, is that like every single person out there is going to have like a different individual, like, you know, like coach or whatever term you would want to use to refer to like us providing the service, that they're going to resonate with, that they're going to vibe with. There are certain people that would say like, oh sweet, like yeah, I'll do like 1 hour sessions with Brendon a month, like that'd be cool. But then there'd be another person would be like, actually, you know, I prefer to do with someone like Bevin, because maybe they're like, they can hold space in a different way. And we're not, and it's kind of like honoring the fact that each of us kind of has like a different flavor, a different style. And this is where you kind of start getting into really understanding the idea that as you're growing your Patreon, as you're growing your social media presence, you are your own brand. Like you become like kind of like a representation of the service that you're providing. And again, so a big part of it is like you living healthy, you taking care of yourself, you leading by example, you walking your own walk. And so it really does kind of invite you into this like level of accountability that's very, very like interesting to be able to play with. And again, it's also about being able to like, you know, maybe you try something where it's not like, oh, this is ongoing, but hey, for the person I'm working with, let's try this for 2 months. And this is something where you're gonna like say like that person will pay you like $250 a month, and let's commit to 2 months, you know, and then they could even do like the down payment up front or something like that. Again, you can do something where you can create the container to try it, but then you have to be honest with yourself and say like, do I still want to do this by the time I reach the end of it? Or do I kind of want to create a new service? Do I kind of want to shape it? So a lot of what's very exciting with where we're at is kind of like trying different things and kind of like finding something that will eventually be like this like kind of like consistent flow, that like something we'll be able to like maintain consistency with. But your consistency might be the fact that, you know, like once every 2 weeks or 2 months or something like that, a new theme comes along and you kind of change things. Again, it could be something where you're focusing on individual people that you're working with. So maybe you have like, you know, there's like 8 people that you work with throughout the month. And again, and that could be your income there. Or maybe you're focusing on more kind of like building a community where those 8 people are actually like interacting with each other. And that's kind of similar to what we're doing here, you know? So even for myself, like I've had some experience where I did do that, where I did do like coaching, where I was like working with some people one-on-one, and yeah, and they were paying me like a few $100s a month, and we would have like a session every week and things like that. And I did this for a few months. It was a great learning experience, but ultimately for me, I'm like, okay, as much as I could do that, that's not what I need to do. And the only reason for that was because if I was doing that, then it was kind of like there was other stuff related to building paradigm shift that I needed to really just focus on. And that was why like I kind of like made that shift. And maybe I'll go back into doing it later on once things are kind of like in a place where I feel confident with the ship sailing and it's all good. But for me, it was just kind of like, okay, like I'm going to focus more on the community opposed to just like the one-to-one. But even within this, for the leading members, you do all have access to me for one-on-one consultation, which can be something that we can literally book in as like a private session as well. And then that's like an additional value to what it is that you're creating. So every single one of us here has a lot of value that we can provide. And I think it's just a matter of kind of like acknowledging what that value is, exploring what that value is, and investing in ourselves to be able to grow that value. You know, like what if it's like just a simple example, it's like, oh, you know, like I want to teach people how to use a certain breath work technique to be able to like help them get over anxiety and to help them like, you know, like move through those things. Okay, if that's the case, I'm going to invest in learning about this breathwork technique. I'm going to, you know, maybe I'm going to like another thing, like you guys can think of me as a coach, as a media consultation coach, but if it feels like you need another coach, if there's like another program out there that has value, that's going to be an investment for you so that you can bring more value into what you're providing, then absolutely, right? I'm not going to be able to give you everything you need, but maybe there's some other service that somebody else is providing, and then you'll learn from that, and then you'll be able to incorporate it, and then you can kind of like incorporate that into the value you're providing as well. So yeah, so again, just kind of brainstorming here is kind of where we're at. But again, with the Patreon, I really want to plant the seed for anybody here. Like if you're like literally, if you're someone who's just like really good at doing tarot readings, you could start a side thing through Patreon and that's your focus. Like it's not, hey, I do YouTube videos, hey, I do this. You would still want to use an Instagram to get stuff out, and the benefit of getting better at your media creation is going to allow more people to find out about you. But maybe your focus is literally like just the tarot readings sort of thing, and then you just focus on that, and then you're able to kind of like do this parallel to your already busy schedule. And then if you're able to like schedule in like 1 or 2 tarot reading sessions a week, and then with each tarot reading session, that could be like someone who's already signed up for like a monthly option of like $300 a month. Or again, this is a powerful idea for people who want new sessions, opposed to them just paying like $20 for the session. You say the condition is you can get a session when you sign up to my Patreon. And then so again, you're creating the condition. And so opposed to just saying like, oh, like, you know, like if you want to pay an individual contribution, that's still an option. You can decide based on the person. But if you create that condition where it's like, this is how you get a reading by signing up to the Patreon, by committing to that monthly contribution, helping me reach those goals, then the right people who are going to want to work with you will make it work for them. Like they'll say yes to it, you know, like they'll be like, okay, sweet, this is worth it. And maybe for them, signing up at like a $10 level on Patreon is actually a better deal, because maybe otherwise it's like $40 for a session if it is just an individual session. So you're like creating value there, but it's with the communicated agreement that this person is going to continue contributing ongoing to the best of their abilities. And that's another thing, is that with the Patreon, and this has been something that I've got a lot of experience with Patreon. There are going to be people who are going to sign up and then they're going to have to cancel their contributions for whatever reason, and you do your best not to take it personally, and that's to be expected. But at the same time, what you want is more of those people that are going to be able to commit ongoing, right? You want those people that are going to be able to be like, yeah, $10 a month, that's no big deal, and you give me a lot of value. And it's not just the value that you give me, it's the fact that I want to support you and I'm casting my vote for what you're creating, because it's something that's helping other people, and it's something important, and it's something that I know is making a difference in others' lives. So people will support you not just because of what you do, because of why you do what you do. And that's where it's all about, like kind of like that personal relationship. So that's where I'll just say this and we'll pass over to Caitlin. There's a whole nother thing here where it's like the power of direct messaging. And what happens if you become like through Instagram and Facebook, if you become like a direct messaging wizard? Like, what does that mean? What happens? Just imagine, like, what does it mean for you to be able to like master direct messaging, where you're reaching out to people, you're providing value, you're expressing gratitude, you're genuinely connecting, and then at the same time, you're like, hey, if you really enjoy my content, here's how you can support it. And you invite them into that place where they're just like, yo, I want to support this, right? So again, it's something where through creating your content through Instagram, people engage with your Instagram, and then what you can do is like send out direct messages, and then you can kind of connect further and develop relationship without over exhausting yourself. And again, it's also about being able to make sure that you have that Patreon built, so you have that place to be able to send them back to. That way, so instead of people are just like, oh, like, how do I support you? And you're just like, oh, sorry, I don't have a link I can send. You need that place that you can direct them to, that kind of gives the basic information. So you're not repeating the same thing over and over again, but you can still give people the basic information through direct communication. And then you're like, yeah, for more information, here's the Patreon. And you create such a good value without it being something that's overexerting you, that people would like want to say yes to. Like, give them something that's like such good value that like they there's no way they would say no to, if it's something that's like really in alignment with them. And that's where like, even with what we're doing through building the support through the Patreon, like that's why like I have like the additional offer of the Light Guardian Crystal. Like there's some people that are like, yo, that item in itself is something that is like, I want. And then so it's like, okay, sweet, you can get it by signing up to the Patreon at the $11 level. And then they're just like, sweet, like the other stuff is bonus, but like that's actually just like something that's like, yo, that's a sweet deal, I want that. And it's not trying to be like gimmicky or marketing kind of like wishy-washy. You're not trying to deceive people or anything. You're just literally providing a lot of value and providing a service and providing your why and building community and being honest with like why you're doing what you're doing. And yeah, it is so that you can, pay off debts and get food and support your parents as they get older, and so you can be able to travel, and so you can be able to make more content and make an impact, and and like do all of these other amazing things that are going to inspire people. And I think once we really own that, because again, like I know even for myself, it's kind of like been a thing where it's like, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm building money through the Patreon, but it's like, do I have to communicate that like once I reach a certain point, that's going to allow me to pay off my credit card debt? Like, I mean, I feel like all of us kind of have credit card debt and everything like that, but we're like ashamed to admit that we're trying to earn money to pay it off. But meanwhile, for me, part of the reason with having my goal on the Patreon is like, once I reach that goal, sweet, now I'll be able to have enough extra income where I can actually start paying off my credit card debt. And that's kind of like, that's when things kind of like you start moving in a whole nother direction. Like right now, kind of like prior to reaching that point, it's like you're kind of like keeping your head above water. But how would it feel where you're at that point where you're making like 3,000 a month, you're making 5,000 a month, etc., 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 and you're allowed to, like, that the universe wants that for you. So don't worry about people, if people are just like, oh, you're making money off this, like, we talked about this before, block and bless if that's the case. Like, you want people who are going to want you to be freaking, making $10,000 and everything like that. Because again, that's a reflection of your value, and it also increases your global impact so that you can continue to serve others. And so like, it's about sacred commerce is a term that I think once we kind of like start playing with that, we're like, okay, sweet. We're past that stage where like making money and providing spiritual services, like somehow they just don't synergize. Like that's why we're here, to find out where they synergize and to give people the invitation to support things that they love. So yeah, so again, I'm just kind of like talking off the top of my head, but in doing so, I kind of want to just like help people kind of get those ideas flowing of like, okay, like so like a direction you can start moving into is, what would my Patreon tiers look like? What would people sign up for? You might have a one lower one, $5 a month, but then you might have your $11, like a 300, you have a 500. What could you provide that someone would want to pay like $1,000 a month? That again is not overexerting you, but just something that if the value is relative to them, they'll contribute. Like there is a way where there's a lot of people out there that are like, yo, like this is worth X number of dollars to be able to support. So again, owning our value and just meditate on that idea of being like, okay, that future where I'm already making like $3,000 a month through my Patreon and $5,000 through, stuff that exists. Like that exists. And what are the steps needed to get there? What do I need to do? And every day you're kind of like moving the needle forward. And again, a big part of it isn't just what we do on our social media platforms. It isn't just coming to these synergy circles. It's the little habits in between. It's the momentum, and it's the resilience, and it's the mindset, and it's the community, and it's the clarity, and it's the targets, and it's those things that kind of like continue to help moving us forward. So yeah, again, your job, in addition to building your Patreon and all that stuff, very simply put, and then I'll pass it to Caitlin here, your job is to take care of yourself. That's it. Like your job is to take care of yourself. And if you're taking care of yourself, you'll show up to the work, you'll show up to the laptop, you'll show up with the clarity, you'll show up with the ideas, and things from there will just kind of unfold. So make sure that you're finding your balance, because it can be very easy for us to kind of get so pulled into our work that we stop taking care of ourselves. But then, the idea is about being able to find that balance. It's still something that, again, like I am still learning alongside you guys as well. We are all still learning together. And I think that's kind of the exciting thing of this journey, is that we're learning from each other. As much as I am here creating this space with this intention to help people get to the self-sustained creative artist level, I'm still kind of getting there myself. But the fact is, if I can get there, you can get there, and you can get there, and you can get there, and you can get there. And that's the beauty of it. And what happens where flash forward 6 months and Paradigm Shift Central is like this thing that a lot of people know, and then suddenly, you know, momentum starts to grow and momentum starts to build. So again, we have to kind of think long term, but there's a lot to already be excited about. And so again, I appreciate everybody kind of like committing to kind of nurturing the seeds, because this is that kind of first step. And it's not even just the first step. A lot of us have been here for a while, but it is kind of like that stage where it's like, okay, I'm going to commit the next like 6 months to building my Patreon while still doing other jobs on the side, if that's the case. But honestly, with your Patreon, if you have the privilege to literally spend 2 weeks focusing just on your Patreon, what could you accomplish in that time? And what goals could you reach? Because like in 2 weeks, suddenly you can be like, whoa, I'm suddenly earning like an extra $150 through Patreon. Or it could be I'm earning like an extra 500 or 1,000. Again, it depends on your value of what you're doing. So for me on Patreon, I'm kind of going up the step by step in the leading member is kind of a smaller amount sort of thing, which is okay for me. We're still kind of building it. But that's something for me to ask. I'm like, like what could I do? Maybe there are people out there who want to pay like $100 a month for me to be able to provide a service to them. That's still something that maybe I haven't fully like receive the download for yet, or maybe I'll just like, I don't know, I have to think about that. If there's anybody here in the chat, your feedback's welcome. What would be worth $100 a month through my Patreon for you? Please feel free, leave your comments, leave your feedbacks. And again, getting feedback from the community is always a great way to be able to get clarity on what to move into next. Anyways, I know again, can you guys give me a thumbs up? Like, am I making sense here? Is that cool?
Yeah, no.
You guys are like, there's value of what I'm saying. I'm not just like, it's
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Bevin. Yeah, you can, if you want to reply, and then we'll pass it to Caitlin in a minute if you had anything to reply with.
Yeah, just that was valuable, and I appreciate you sharing that. And it gives me a lot to think about, a lot for all of us to think about, especially, you know, I think I appreciate the way you're kind of like gently pushing us to, you know, rise up and to take on more responsibility and to be like, yo, this is your life. Let's get at it. Let's all be self-sustainable entrepreneurs here. That's what we're here for. And that is what we're here for. We're here to have freedom in our lives in every single way. And financial freedom is such a huge part of that. So, yeah, I really appreciate everything that you talked about. I'm sure everyone else did too.
Awesome. Thank you, Bevin. And again, your feedback is equally appreciated as well. Okay, Caitlin, can I get a thumbs up? Are we ready to pass over to you? Okay, cool. And real quick, for those of you looking to connect with Bevin, I'll post a link into the YouTube chat, but check out heavenlybeing.183 on Instagram. Oh, another quick note, I'll just say this just while everyone's still here. Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is our scheduled work period. So for anybody here and for leading members listening to this, tomorrow, Monday, 11 a.m., join me and we'll create a Zoom call. And this will be a chance for us to do more brainstorming. We had one last week. We've done them in the past, but we're getting more into the habit. So again, it would be like a broadcast, like it would be a Zoom call, but it wouldn't be live broadcasted. It would just be for leading members, and that's where we can do more brainstorming. So that's a Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so connect with Bevin at heavenlybeing.wordpress.com, Bevin Bliss on Facebook, and heavenlybeing.183 on Instagram. And another thing I'll just say like real quick, and this isn't necessarily like just relative to Bevin, but it's really for anybody. Again, you know, like something as simple as like changing our Instagram handle can actually like go a long way. So even for you, Bevin, if you were to change your Instagram handle, what would it change to? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but it could be refined. There could be a way where if I were to say to people, okay, to find Bevin, you have to look up Heavenly Being, but it's 2 B's and you have to type 183 and stuff like that. Like that little extra, are people just like, wait, what? Like I missed that, right? What's like a phrase you could communicate to someone at a bus stop and they could figure that out right away type thing. That's something that I just encourage people to kind of like think in their mind. So
yeah, maybe I would change it to like Bevin Heaven. I feel like
I think that's a good
pretty
one.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get back to that. So, okay, Caitlin, we'll pass it over to you. Thank you again for being here, for your patience, and for adding your voice. Caitlin, go ahead, introduce yourself, share a little magical story if you want, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Caitlin. And just check your microphone. I think I'm not sure if you're still muted or if it's just off.
All right, I'm fine now.
Yeah, now it's good.
Um,
Yeah, okay, go for it.
All right.
Welcome.
So my name's Caitlin. I'm an intuitive. I read energy. I'm an energy healer. And my focus as a healer and also a coach is really to work with the emotional pain body and also focus on breaking free of love addiction and pain addiction. It's something that I've experienced in my life, and I want to help others kind of transmute that so they can get into a better place and also really initiate themselves in becoming their own healer. I also teach energy healing, and I also have a strong emphasis on doing shadow work and inner child work. And when I do teaching, I just, I teach Reiki as well. But I guess my main features or what I would do, like if I were to do a Patreon, um, would probably be energy readings. I do tarot, but when I do readings, I really just focus on energy. I also do past life readings. So a lot of intuitive work is my main focus, and also helping other people tap into their intuitive abilities as well. Really working with their healing abilities so they could do those things on themselves. And I am an integrative health practitioner. I do wellness coaching. That is separate, but I want to integrate those two things, and I do teach yoga. Um, with yoga, I really focus on, again, working with the body to really help ground the body, and yoga nidra, which is like another form of yoga, more of a meditative form of yoga, and also working with breath. And with my clients that I have, my focuses are, as I said, love addiction and really stepping into your power, and a real strong emphasis on self-love. And yeah, that is my little intro of what I do. So
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, and again, like just being able to hear that is really interesting because you've got your own experience. Like you said, you've already done like one-on-one stuff with people and done calls and things like that. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm just kind of thinking. Oh, did you have like another like story you wanted to share of like something magical that happened over the
I
past?
totally forgot that part.
If you want.
No, so around the full moon, I think it was on the full moon of the day after, I have a friend who also does energy healing, and she was doing one on me. And while she was doing it, this was distance, I started to channel a past life. I just thought that was cool. And when she finished it, it was at 11:11. That's probably the most magical thing that has happened in the past 2 days. um, every day is magical, of course, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. I just thought that was really cool. Because usually when I get energy healings done on me, like have done past life work, and I do offer that too. I do past life regressions, but I thought that was like pretty cool. Like I could really feel everything, and I don't know if she was in that past life. Like I wasn't sure, but um, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Cool. Magical to me.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, and like again, the thing I love about this team is that everybody's kind of like tapped into spirit in different ways, and like an experience of what Caitlin might have like might be something that maybe I'll never have. Maybe I'll never have an experience like that. And like certain people kind of have like just like different ways of being able to connect with spirit on different levels. So it's always fascinating. It's always fascinating to hear that. And again, the fact that you are kind of like familiar with kind of like past life, like have you done past life regression
Um,
stuff, or do you
um,
facilitate that?
yes, so I have done
Okay.
to others. Like I've done Akashic Records readings. It's not something that I've advertised heavily, but I have done, like I've worked with someone to learn how to do it. So when I do my readings, because I just do energy, sometimes they just come up spontaneously or not, depends. But if someone wants to specifically do it, I do offer it as a session. So I have done a lot
Gotcha.
on myself though. So I just find I find it fascinating, like past lives and all that stuff. So
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Okay, so just kind of going like with where we were like asking questions for Bevin and stuff too, to just kind of brainstorm, get some clarity. If you were to kind of think like what would a successful life for you feel like? And what I mean by that, like if you when you're at the point where you kind of like have that regenerative income and you're sustained, what would you want to be doing? Like give me, if you can kind of like just give me a practice kind of visioning,
yeah.
like, and I'll give you an example. It'd be like, okay, sweet, like, you know, like I'm doing one-on-one stuff with clients. You know, like, do I have a community? Am I creating YouTube videos? Am I writing articles? What type of things do you feel you want to begin exploring more of, or
Mhm.
develop more of? What things do you want to become stronger in over, like, you know, on the path towards that goal,
So
that target?
for me, I definitely want to do retreats. I really love working with people face to face. I want to get more into
Cool.
energy deeper. So like working with um, like like tantra yoga, more like kundalini. Like in the future, I hope to develop that ability to really work with that more. And I love writing. I love making videos. I mean, I haven't really been active in making videos, but I hope ideally I would like to make videos every week. And I want to do more coaching, you know, focus more on coaching. But I think my ideal life is really focused on teaching because I'm passionate about teaching and really helping people like step into their passions, like match people with what where are they best aligned to, like energetically, like how can I match them up and align them in a way where they're like on that, you know, path, like kind of being like I don't know if it's like a matchmaker, but like maybe in some sense of business coach. But I'm really passionate about that, like promoting other people, but in a way where it's not so much business, but like helping them step into and more in alignment with their dreams and passions. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And again, and I think that's kind of the thing, is that like you'll kind of hear between all of us and what we're doing, it kind of like crosses over in similar ways. It's just like, what are we trying to do? It's like, oh, we're just trying to like help people live their best life. We're trying to support them. We're trying to like help them fulfill their dreams. Um, at the same time, Caitlin, I'll kind of speak on this, and Bevin, if there's any thoughts on this you have too. Again, you know, and even for Jacob and Eddie, I kind of want to invite you guys to jump in and kind of reflecting, you know, like what would be of value to a potential client. One thing that everyone can relate to, and I'll just say this because you guys can kind of think of, I just want to plant that seed, is to kind of like focus a niche of your services towards relationship building and like manifesting love in your life, like finding that partner, or something like that. This is something that a friend of mine, Genevieve Lightworker, Genevieve Rockham, she's like been doing YouTube videos, her and her twin sister, Gianna as well. But Genevieve, as an example of, again, another conscious entrepreneur who's at this point where like she's making, you know, like more than 10K a month. What she's doing is she's like working with people, and she's created this course that's like helping them manifest not just like their soulmate, but like that right relationship that they're looking for, from the teaching of it being like energetic embodiment and like working on the self first and figuring out like our own self values, and kind of helping them release like old things that, you know, old programs that aren't really serving them anymore. I don't know all the details, but again, I just know that that's something that a lot of people find value in. There's a lot of people that would be like, yo, if you can help me get like that next awesome partner that I've been working on manifesting in the next like 3 months, like, yo, I will pay you like $5,000 if you can help me do that. And it's not like you're like doing it. What you're doing is you're holding space for kind of like the formula that's going to help yield that result. And what is that? What does that look like? Again, it's like supporting them in their self-confidence, helping them like move through trauma, if that's something that's relative to you. And again, that's something that you kind of have to really decide, is that something I want to do? Is because again, right, like if you're providing a service for someone, you have to be really mindful of kind of like getting into that sensitive territory and making sure that you're safe as well, because you don't want to be in a situation where someone's just like getting like really really personal and you're just like, whoa, okay, this is like, sorry, I can't follow you there, or this is like, you have to have those boundaries, and you have to kind of be really clear as to like what you're working towards, and like, no, you are not their therapist, and making sure that like that's clear, because like, again, unless you are a registered therapist or a registered psychologist, you have to be really careful of kind of like how you're wording the service you're providing, and make sure that that's not like what someone thinks they're getting, or that's not what you're pretending you're doing, because that's where you can, like, there's actually, this sounds bizarre, but there's actually a law in Canada where people can get charged for like giving people fake psychic advice, meaning it's basically this law that helps prevent vulnerable people from falling into a situation where, say, a fake psychic, and I'm putting air quotes around that or whatever, could be like, oh, if you pay me $2,000, I'll talk to your dead husband and I'll tell you what you want to hear, essentially, or something like that. And some gullible old lady sitting on a pile of money is going to be like, oh, sweet, I'll do that. And then this person basically just swindled them out of it intentionally, like kind of like seeing that person as like an easy target sort of thing. So just be aware that like even that, like, that's a thing. So just, and again, I'm just sharing that because, again, like that's something that's like one side of the spectrum, whereas what you want to be able to do is make sure that like you're providing a value that is clear, that is something that you have agreed on, that there are containers, that there are boundaries, that it's healthy, and this is why, again, like even with the one-on-one coaching, as much as I enjoyed doing it, I had to be aware of the fact that when I would do it, it would be an investment of my energy, and there were times when I would do it regardless of if it was like, lighthearted or heavy, where it would like kind of take a toll on me. Like it would require a certain amount of my energetic presence, and there were times where like it got a little bit real. It's human stuff, you're talking about stuff, but again, you're working towards inspiration, and sometimes people just need to be able to like have someone that they can talk to, maybe about things they haven't really talked about before. But again, in doing that, there are going to be times where you just have to make sure that it's just like, okay, like, how do I either make sure it doesn't get to that, because maybe that's something that I don't want to, I can't do that. Sorry, I can't hold space for you in that way, because it will be like something that will, I know, kind of like take a toll on me that's beyond like what I'm willing to give, type thing. So making sure there's a lot of clarity on what is being offered between you and the person, and they know what they're getting, and making sure that it's not like too out there. You want to keep it grounded, again, and that's where like different people are going to kind of vibe into different things, but yeah, like, I don't know. There's a lot of different programs out there, and different people are going to be attracted to different things. Like, what if you were to just make a program where it's like, hey, take this program and I'll teach you how to like talk to aliens or something like that. Like there are going to be some people that be like, yo, like I'll be down for that, but it's like, how legit is that? Can you actually do that? What is actually being offered there? Should that be what you're offering? Is that actually what you're providing, sort of thing?
Right.
Again, I'm not really saying, again, I would have to like, it would have to be like a specific example before I could give a proper opinion on that. But again, obviously within the realm of new age and in metaphysics and spirituality and consciousness, there's some stuff that could get pretty far out there. I would encourage you to kind of keep it like relatively grounded,
Right. Yeah.
opposed to just being like, hey, like pay me $60 to talk to your dead relatives.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that could be a thing, right? So anyways, Caitlin, just going back to my main point about like, just the example of like providing a service that could help people connect with that next relationship, and kind of like holding space for that or something like that. Does that kind of like go in line with like something that you've done or something you might
No, that's what I
want
do.
to
I mean,
do?
all the
That's what you already do?
well, that's what I do with
It's one
coaching.
part of it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
With the readings, I do it with that when I do energy healing. I kind of integrate it, but it's not like I don't really focus so much on that, but it is part of my practice. But as my life and what I want to do, like as a coach or as a healer, I want to work with people so they can be more connected to themselves, like in their intuition, not so much give them answers. I don't really believe like anyone has the answers, like all the answers are within, so for me it's more about helping
Yeah.
other people tap into their intuition and their power. So basically, self-development, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I do
Mm-hmm.
offer those services, like I do it, but it's not like
Yeah.
what I want to do as my life practice. Like I want to be more like, deeper, you know
Okay.
right. So wait, like essentially
Yeah.
what you said, like have focus on one thing. I don't know what that thing is yet that I want to focus on, but
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines where, like you said, manifesting the right relationship, or how to step into your power as an empath, or just something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, and that's why we're here to kind of like start getting more clarity on kind of like what it is that we can focus on. So again, like with people here, with Bevin, with Caitlin, with Jacob, even with Eddie, for anybody listening, if you were to create your Patreon, what would your tiers be? What value would you provide at your $10, at your $50, at your $100? Start asking those questions, and like the ideas will start coming to you. And again, like that's kind of, at least from the tactics that I'm kind of encouraging people to focus on, is start building that Patreon, because again, it's kind of like one of those things where it reminds me of that saying where it's like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. It's like, when's the best time to start a Patreon? 5 years ago. But when's the next best time? Today, right? Because again, you're building that regenerative income, and then flash forward a year from now and you're doing it. You've got it. You've built that community, you've got that income, you've played that long game, you've developed your relationships, and it's possible. It's possible for each and every single one of us. So Kaylin, I'll pass back over to you. If there's anybody, I'm not sure. Bevin, did you have anything you wanted to reply with? And even Eddie and Jacob, if there's anything that you guys want to jump in of relative to this, we'll kind of, I'll ask some more sort of like specific questions and stuff. But Bevin, did you have anything to reply to Caitlin or no? Okay. Caitlin, was there anything else or any sort of like questions that you might want to be able to like bounce off me, or do you kind of feel even just practice kind of brainstorming what you feel like your next steps might be, or even just let me know like where are some other things that you might kind of like want to improve on or focus on or develop more of through the Paradigm Shift Central project as a media creator, things like that. And you kind of already hit upon that, but if there's anything else.
I guess it would be like, I guess I could ask this outside, but as a, like you said, you did coaching before. If you're focusing, because a lot of people do Patreons and they do offer tarot readings and all that stuff, but if you were just going to focus on like self-development, like what would be a good example of doing a Patreon for that? Would it be like work with me one-on-one once a month, offer like private sessions, like, you know?
It may be a thing where, yeah, like you almost do like a one-on-one consultation with someone first, and then you kind of figure out what their needs are, and then you kind of figure out like what the unique offer might be between the two of you. So
Okay.
it could be something where yeah, you're kind of just like helping provide a unique, you know, space for each person
Right.
that kind of comes to you. But at the same time, this is again when it gets into the coaching and stuff like that, uh you can say no. You can do a consultation with someone and you can decide if they're going to be a right fit for you, and
Okay.
you'll be able to listen to that intuitively, right? like
Right.
like that. See, that's another thing, is that like, just when you're offering that service, you don't want it to be like, okay, someone's paying $100 and now I have to do this, but now they're kind of like not really honoring the energy exchange, and I don't feel comfortable in this. Like, that's where you have to also really like own your power and
Right.
being able to be like, hey, like, thanks for connecting with me. There's like, I'd love to be able to connect you with like another person who might be a better fit, and maybe you pass them over to Bevin or something like that, but just to know that like, just because someone's paying you or is wanting to sign up for the Patreon doesn't put you in that space where you're obligated to. So it's going to get like a little bit more personable for the individual people that you're working with. And again, that would ideally be more at like a higher end. But if it is like kind of like a if it is like more of like a tarot reading, then like that can kind of again be like a container where it's easier for you to say yes to a person because it's not like this like super super deep thing. It's not like okay, let's go heal those childhood traumas. Like that's not what we're doing here today, but let's talk to the cards, let's get a message, and then let's kind of, you know, focus conversation around there. And again, you just get, it's something that you learn, but really making sure that you're just honoring your ability to like set those boundaries, set those containers, and then the energy will kind of like flow in accordance. But yeah, again, I think that's something that we can still brainstorm some more, because I feel like if you were, again, you know, like providing one-on-one sessions, would it be something like does offering tarot readings, is that something that you're thinking of? Is that something that would be
So I was thinking of it because I do it, but I don't know if, see, like I don't know if I should really stick on the reading stuff or move more into like coaching. And kind of that's where I'm at right now, because I'm really into intuitive work, but I don't want that to be my only thing, because I don't know. I feel like I could offer that, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm really like into it as much, because I want to like go deeper than just that for me. So that's why I'm not sure like if I should
Mhm.
integrate both, combine it, or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it. I do energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that more because it's more like I'm working with them, and it's not, it's kind of like in the middle. I'd do that, but I kind of just have so many different things I want to do that like I can't decide on one thing. So for me, it's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of deciding. But I was considering it because I do tarot.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Again, I think where you're in is a beautiful spot to be in, where you're just like, wow, I have so much value to provide. Where do I start? Type thing. Like, how do I kind of? So that's like, yeah, that's not a bad place to be in. But you're right. I think a big thing that's really successful is just like keeping it simple. And
Okay.
maybe you do kind of use your tarot if you feel called to do tarot readings. Again, if that's something that excites you, if you get excited about being able to do tarot readings with people and not just feeling like it's a chore or anything like that, then
Yeah.
you could kind of maybe focus on your tarot readings as kind of like that first gate. And then as people kind of come through there, you know, you can be like, hey, like, you know, like I can offer further services if that's something that you would want to, and maybe it's not,
Mhm.
and maybe some of those services are ones that you don't like, kind of like you have a bit of a, you know, there's um like almost like a screening process, but before, it's not just something that's literally available to anybody. It's something where it's like after you've done a tarot reading session with me, if I feel we're a good fit, then maybe we can go deeper, and then that's maybe where your like higher end coaching packages provide the options there or something like that. So yeah, maybe if that's something you feel called to, and again, we can brainstorm some more, maybe just kind of like focus on kind of like doing, offering a tarot service type thing, and then kind of see what the response is like from that. Because if someone says yes to your tarot, they would probably be interested in hearing more about what you want to be able to offer to them. So I feel like the tarot is kind of like that more generic, safe way to kind of get people in the door, and then to
Right.
give them a chance to connect with you, and then to learn a little bit more and develop that relationship, and then decide if that is like again, another service that you want to be able to offer them. So
Okay.
um yeah, so that could be a thing. And again, I think there's a lot of other places to be able to brainstorm in terms of, again, value that can be provided through the Patreon, that we can talk a little bit more later, such as, again, like for anybody here, if you're like a crafter, if you're making arts and crafts, one thing you can do is when people sign up to the Patreon, they get a discount for your shop. Or again, if they sign up for the Patreon, maybe they get a discount for like other things that you provide. And yeah, just being able to, again, like through our Patreon, like they can, at the higher tier, they can get the Lumerian Light Guardian crystals, and things like that. And again, you can also have the thing where if you're feeling the call to build a community, you could have like a private Discord chat, a private team chat, that private space, and you're inviting people to like to invest not just in the space, but also in themselves and the community and what you're building. But that could be something that can kind of build over time. But yeah, if you're just getting started, I think again, kind of like at least building the Patreon page, having even just 2 or 3 options, one of them being tarot, if that's what you feel called to do, and then just kind of like start start moving that train and start seeing like how many people are starting to get interested. Well, parallel to that, focusing on like creating content that's going to help like invite people back. And I guarantee you that there's already people who follow your content that would be like it would be easy for them to like say yes to those offers. And again, like maybe it is where it's like, okay, like I'll do a tarot session again for people who sign up at like $8 on Patreon, or again it might be $10 once you kind of figure out more of like what the additional value, because it shouldn't just be the tarot reading. If you can add in a couple other things in there, again, make it easier for them to say yes to without it actually costing you much more, without it overexerting you at the same time. And that's why like a discount for an item shop, like that doesn't take your energy. It actually like it generates more sales and it entices, and it provides value, but it's not something that's like gonna like drain you even more. So you have to be kind of like mindful of like how much energy you're capable of kind of giving through your services, through your packages, and making sure that it's one that's going to be like sustainable, feasible. Yeah. So yeah, I think oh, the other thing I'll just say, this goes for everybody, for the Patreon. When you're creating a Patreon, if you haven't yet, again, just be very mindful of what name, aka what URL you are using for your Patreon. I choose to do mine under my own name, so Brendon Culleton. You notice I don't have my Patreon. It's not patreon.com/Paradigm Shift Central, or it's not Mystic Spider-Man, it's not Skull Babylon, it's Brendon Culleton, because I want it to be clear that what they are supporting is me as an individual, as an artist, in what I create. And under that umbrella, yes, I create Paradigm Shift Central. Yes, I create videos as Skull Babylon on YouTube. Yes, I do all of these things. So just make sure that when you're doing it, if it feels right for you to like use your name or what chosen name you want to use, then that's like one thing I would recommend. Okay, Bevin, wow, it's almost 9:30 already. Okay, Bevin, you're gonna head out soon. I can pass over to you if you want to just any closing thoughts, or let me know feedback wise if you feel you got like a little bit more clarity out of tonight's Synergy Circle, and we'll talk more when we can.
Yeah, definitely got clarity and lots to think about, and brainstorm for myself and how I want to move forward with how I shape my own services and how I can help people. So this has been really good. I've
Sweet.
appreciated it. Yeah, this is good.
Cool. Awesome. And Bevin, I know you've been getting into the habit of creating your videos, your YouTube videos, and I just want to acknowledge and congratulate that. And yeah, keep that going. And again, we'll brainstorm some more, because it's about creating the videos and then also curating and making sure that they're like getting seen by people, and that's something that we'll be working on some more. So again, we'll help you get some stuff published through the main website soon, and yeah, we'll chat
Cool.
in the team chat as well. So cool. Awesome. Bevin, good job. And yeah, looking forward to seeing everyone rock it. So cool.
Yeah,
Go team.
yeah. Go team.
All right.
All right.
All right. We'll
night,
we'll talk to you
everyone.
later.
Much
And
love.
I'm assuming Brianna's probably not showing up either, so
Yeah.
that's totally cool. All right, much love to you, Bevin, and we'll talk soon. All right, thanks again.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Cool. Okay, so yeah, again, I don't want this broadcast to really be like too long. I don't want to throw too much at people all at once. But again, I do just kind of want to bounce around the circle a little bit more, and we'll just kind of like plant some seeds that will get people rolling for creating content. And again, even for people who aren't as leading members in the project, maybe this will start giving your ideas. If you were to create a Patreon, what would that look like? So again, I just thank everyone again for being here. Caitlin, I just want to pass over to you, and then Jacob and Eddie, pass it over to you guys if there's any, again, ideas just based on, you know, if you were to create a Patreon, what would that look like, and anything of that nature. And we'll wrap up the broadcast probably in the next half hour. Caitlin, is there anything else that you want to do? Like, do you feel like you got a little bit more clarity on what your next steps are, so to speak?
I think, like you said, if I did a Patreon, which I do plan on doing, to do maybe an energy reading and then offer that at like a smaller price. And then if they want to do more with me, then I could say, oh, have a intuitive coaching session with me for an hour at whatever price, like build it up. Like you said, like start off with energy reading or tarot reading and then take it from there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, when you got like a little bit of time on your hand, definitely take a look at just like getting your Patreon, get that page set up, get that URL, and then once you got it there, then it's just a matter of like setting half an hour aside and start typing stuff out, and you'll be like, whoa, okay, sweet, now I got it. Now I can start directing people to it, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, cool. Sweet. And again, I know you were saying that you want to get back into like making more videos and stuff too, so we'll be able to like brainstorm some more of that as well. So
Yeah, that'd
that'll
be
be cool.
awesome.
Cool. Sweet. Awesome. Okay, cool. Jacob or Eddie, did either one of you want to jump in next? In terms of kind of like either just like introducing yourself, but Jacob, we'll pass it over to you because Jacob,
Sure.
who's been here in the broadcast before, welcome back. Thanks for being here, dude. Just as like quick kind of like synopsis, Jacob, again, like focusing a lot on being a student right now, but also like shared some amazing conscious flowetry and poetry in past broadcasts, has made some videos there. But yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more, Jacob, of like theoretically, if you're creating a Patreon or just creating more content, what would you want to create? What do you kind of how can we within Paradigm Shift help you as you grow as a creator and reach
So,
that self-sustain point? Go for it, dude.
like, my vision for the future, this might not be currently, but I'm continuing my education to become an environmental engineer. My focus is on the ecology and the environment and wellness and health and wellness and biology. I'm really focused in both technology and biology and how the two of them can um, help each other in ways. Like really big trend right now is with biotechnology, and with that, it's really important that that a sense of trust between like with this technology ensures that this information doesn't become leaked because it could be sometimes sensitive with the advent of biotechnologies becoming more acceptable. But currently, some of these stuff it's not at too acceptable in some areas. But something really interesting is that I've been researching is with uh, superconducting materials and low temperature physics, and how it relates to quantum field theory and quantum physics and the other forces of nature and gravity, space time, and matter. I've been studying integrals and differentials and how they're inverses with one another, and how they're adding and subtracting depending on which one it is, data sets of like coordinates in space and time, basically. And it's we use these symbols a lot of times that have magical, a lot of these symbols that we use in mathematics have a magical meaning in the past because a lot of it was from Greek. And these Greek symbols have a very archaic meaning to them. For example, phi was a very important mathematical constant even back then, but it was treated as a philosophy or a metaphysics even to an extent with Aristotle, because Aristotle he believed that that virtue can be calculated with with reason with by finding a moderation and balance between two extremes. So this is the idea of the golden mean or the golden spiral, or that virtue can become calculated. Other philosophers would disagree with this idea, and so in saying that virtue and moral excellence cannot become calculated with the mind, it must be work. It's not just purely mathematical or logical. There's actually more of a balance between the mathematical and logical and the spiritual and the physical and all of that. And that's where we get a lot of modern philosophy, and philosophy downgrades, or there's something that happens in nature with fractals. And with philosophy almost fractalized into psychology. And psychology is the study of the mind. And with the mind, I believe that not just the human mind, there is the environmental mind, and the universe in itself is mental. And so when we understand a mental nature of the universe, we want to understand a physical and also a spiritual, how all three aspects kind of relate to one another in a holistic manner. That's kind of what I've been focusing on for many, many years, and just trying to understanding all that kind of stuff, and holistic reasonings. And also something called something more recently I've been working with is anthropic reasoning, which is this idea that there's these two possibilities in time and space. Either one or the other has to happen. It will ultimately lead to these two possibilities. So this comes with really weird thought experiments like the end of the world and doomsday scenarios, and the second one being something called the Boltzmann brain. Have you ever heard of those ideas? So the Boltzmann brain is this idea that with so there's something called quantum fluctuations. And so with quantum fluctuations, there are eigenvalues, and these eigenvalues make up these differentials of energy levels that make up the Bohr model of the atom. And so it has up to six energy levels, or six eigen numbers. And those also have vectors in many, many dimensions, in extra dimensions. So what's wild about vectors is it has a direction and has a magnitude, and this magnitude can be varying into scales of speeds, faster even than the speed of light. The speed of light is usually the constant in physics that we use most of the time with electromagnetic phenomena, but the one theory that kind of counteracts that is inversing Maxwell's equations in the tachyon, and that's where we get like different science fiction ideas like time travel and things that might be possible like that, and wormholes gravitationally. Currently, wormhole technology exists electromagnetically, meaning we can send information through a wormhole through time and space and receive it on the other end, like wirelessly. So like we already done wireless transmissions of waves where we send it through a transmitter and then there's a sensor that picks it up. Well, this sends a signal through an electromagnetic wormhole, and it shortens the time. Like it's extremely quick, like speeds, and what that might allow is the better if we allow quicker transmission of information, and if we can try to get faster than the speed of light, or at the speed of light even, we can create better computer technologies. So currently we're using computer technologies based off transistors that are gates. Okay, these are gates of 0 and 1. So 0 is a complete vacuum, and this vacuum can be denoted using mathematics called Euler's identity. So in trigonometry, there are things called trigonometric identities, and this is a really famous one because it denotes the vacuum, it denotes 0, and 0 is very controversial. It would have gotten you killed in Greek times, actually. But so quantum fluctuations, to complete this thought, comes from the vacuum. It fluctuates from energy levels and eigenstates of positive energy levels, but also negative energy levels, in which time and space both happens forward and backwards in a fifth dimension. So that's what really a fifth dimension kind of is. It's this idea of two time arrows, both going forward and backwards, a backwards universe and a forward universe happening simultaneously in a superposition. And the thing about superposition and mystery, it's the ultimate catalyst for innovation and imagination. As soon as you look and break the superposition and the wave function by observing it, you break that mystery. It becomes a fixed event in time and space that we can remember. And that's where we get this illusion of linear time for the fourth dimension, right? And the fourth dimension of linear time is just the result of a conscious observer, of a mind observing something and breaking that fifth dimension, fractaling into four dimensions, and where we realize that instead of time being the past, present, and the future at the same time, time now becomes the past, the present, and the future. and where we only live in the present moment, we appreciate the present moment for what it is, we can actually access this fifth dimension where that's where you kind of said with other lives. These other lives are actually doppelgangers or other versions of the collective unconscious of what makes humans. And this under the Boltzmann brain, it means it was all random, is basically. But that makes people really upset though with something like that. It's like this theory that quantum fluctuations resulted randomly into a brain that exists, a full human life with full memories, a full everything resulting from quantum fluctuations. So something as powerful as a human life that can break the wave function, a superposition into a fixed time and space, that's pretty powerful in terms of what does that mean? And does that mean we're characters in a story, like you say? Does that mean we're playing in a video game, kind of like a game of life?
Simulation theory.
So,
yeah. So
and a lot
Jacob,
of this,
to jump.
Sorry,
just to jump in real quick. With the stuff you're doing, is this like, are these ideas that you can see like creating into content? That like, is this like stuff that you would want to be able to like create into media, and things like that in the future?
Yeah.
As you're sharing it.
Yeah. I'd
totally
be interested.
Okay, yeah, I'm just asking. Well, it's, again, I'm just kind of like asking for clarity because it's like going back to again, kind of like if you were creating a Patreon or like, do you see yourself kind of like wanting to be again like what would your like career path look like, and how can this kind of tie in with
I want to be an entrepreneur in ways where like people can support what I'm doing, people who are also wanting to find innovation and also want to work through the engineering struggles of society, and basically trying to get away from plastics and derivatives of oil, the oil, getting rid of, trying to cut down on CO2 emissions, trying to find a whole new paradigm, basically using different materials, different fuels to make humanity go into a different light or a different future, because we have to think about sustainability and for the future generations on our planet, and not just for humans, but for the animals and for the ecosystems.
Okay, cool.
Without birds, without invertebrates like bugs, plant life wouldn't exist. And without plants, we wouldn't. It's integral to our psyche. We have to have nature. We have to. It's very important for us to actually go out into nature too. It's important to put ecological settings into urban settings. I've done research that people who spend more time at parks when they live in the city, if they spend more time at parks or they go hiking more, they like overall their morale and like their moods and their psyche is overall better. That's just for anybody. Like if you go camping or just like, don't you feel better afterwards? Sometimes, like I feel like I do.
Totally. Okay, so if I see your Patreon pop up, I see you as like this like really cool rogue scientist, physicist, engineer who's like trying to help change the world, and you're making videos and you're writing articles and you're like creating cool content that's giving people like practical advice, and maybe you're like building a community of other like-minded people, and you're helping invite people to sponsor you and like doing experiments and even like chronicling these experiments and just kind of like helping pave the way towards like more sustainable, balanced quantum future. Is that kind of what we could imagine would be what you would want to be able to do, something along those lines?
Yeah, and like I would. It's really interesting how you said that, because I feel like when we make intentions for things and when we think about things and we pursue goals, it's not like that in itself can be very powerful, because thought is, and it's, but you have to like you have to keep on thinking about it, and you have to put that thought with action. You can't just be thinking about it and expect things to happen. That's not how reality works. Like, sure, there might be some weird coincidence sometimes if you think about that's happened to me sometimes. there's some weird coincidences where things happen based just only by thinking about it. But usually it's thought and action has to be involved too with that thought.
Mm-hmm.
Has
Mm-hmm.
to equal and like a certain amount of and also intelligence doesn't always mean you're going to succeed or going to achieve a goal. You have to actually, it's the actually work ethic and what the action that you put towards your ideas, because our brains are electrochemical and it strengthens, our neurons strengthen on ideas, and certain more complex ideas require more rewirings and more of the neurons to make more complex connections. And the more times you have complex thoughts, the more times that it reinforces that. And the problem about complex thoughts is you can understand it, but a lot of people can't understand it. And that's the problem that I face, is trying to simplify complex thoughts in a way where in that everyone can understand. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
That's a service there, dude. Like see
that's yeah.
that's where I'm kind of like, as you're saying this, like I'm listening to you and I'm like, because again, I want to be able to kind of like give clarity and direction, and dude, like with your kind of excitement towards these topics, like I would love to just kind of see, you know, like what if you do develop those skills where you're able to like make videos, and maybe it's more voiceover oriented, like with like pictographics and things like that, but it's like, you know, kind of like punchy and wise and insightful and intelligent, and you know, maybe even like some graphics in there. And that's where, you know, if we were to talk about more about collaboration options with other people and things like that. But yeah, dude, I totally want to be able to encourage you in you know, considering your schedule is already pretty busy and stuff with school, but if you're feeling called to like make a Patreon, like dude, like set that up and just kind of like start, you know, create that platform and then create that space and start like filling in the blanks and everything like that, man. Because like again, I think being able to like have you not just like exploring these ideas, but also providing the service of like educating others, and you know, because you're still kind of fairly new to the building of the social media platform, and like you're not on Instagram yet, right?
Yeah, I know.
So like, and that's actually not a bad thing, man, because like the idea of like starting on a fresh Instagram is actually really exciting. And like, what could that look like? What could Jacob's like fresh Instagram look like? And that's where, again, I kind of want to encourage you to get into that mindset of like branding, and kind of like maybe you've got like a witty name for your thing, you know, like, you know, it's like questions with Jacob, and not that that's like actually what I think it should be, but like something that's kind of like, you know, a title or a theme or something. But dude, like seriously, man, like I could totally see like you kind of like building a brand around your passion for these topics, because I know there's like a lot of people that are really, you know, interested in being able to listen to someone who's educated on this, such as you are, be able to explain to them. And what if you just have like a 10-minute video where it's like, okay, in this 10-minute video, I'm going to talk to you about this like particular scientific concept or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And then out of that, you're building a community, and you're making it lighthearted and you're playing with it. But at the same time, as much as it is about like content, you're also kind of like building a team of other like quantum engineers and conscious engineers. And kind of what you said, it's not just entertainment, but it's actually like calling people into action to like live a
What's
better
what's really
synchronistic life,
cool about these
synergistic life.
ideas is, you know, they're pretty actually, they're pretty old, but they're pretty complex and they're pretty cool to talk about, and they're really quirky. Like that's why people love quantum mechanics. Like the anthropic reasoning, though, that's really weird stuff. Like something called the alpha constant, or the cosmological constant of the universe, that deals with dark energy and the inflation, and this theoretical particle named the inflaton. So in physics, and the current theories is that there was a big bang due to quantum fluctuations, and the inflation that occurred from the singularity of all the forces in a unified force. And this unified force was carried by a boson particle that was called the inflaton particle, and this inflation occurred shortly after the Big Bang, and it could be measured extremely high energy physics. This uses the Fibonacci sequence raised to 2 to 3 to 4, whatever exponent. It's the nth exponent. So it goes up to 6 because there are 6 energy levels. But so whenever you see
dude, I was just gonna say, we're gonna get close to wrapping things up, and I want to be able to pass over to Eddie in the next couple of minutes. But go ahead, and yeah, and dude, like, I just want to be able to say, man, like, if we can get you like familiar with video editing and graphics creation, imagine the idea for you to essentially like visually create anything that you can imagine. Like, dude, that would be so freaking powerful, man. And like, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I can really see like quality content being able to be something that could be, you know, a part of your habit for just like
well,
you know,
like one of the most common ideas, like
digitizing them
in like these kind of communities with like the idea of like many universe theory, right? Multiverse,
yeah.
So this actually came from anthropic reasoning. This idea that the alpha constant, or the cosmological constant, will differ in other universes, and so other scientists in those other universes who are doing the same experiment will get a different output or a different value for that constant, but it will stay constant at that value. And so, but what that means is, if it, in some of these universes, that those universes are expanding too quickly, or some are not expanding fast enough, and the consequence of these events are called the Big Rip and the Big Crunch. The Big Rip is literally the universe ripping apart by its seams, by its dimensions, and then a Big Crunch is crunching back into a singularity, back into that inflaton particle, or back into that unified force that can then start a whole new, possibly a whole new universe, a whole new Big Bang.
Yeah, man. See, that's like a 5-minute video right there. Tell me all about that, and put it, like, take what you just said and let's turn it into a video. Let's create your Patreon. Let's let people see what you're doing, and let's build it, if that's what you feel like you want to be able to focus on and stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, with again, I just want to be able to pass over to Eddie and stuff before we get too deep into the quantum of things and everything like that. But yeah, man, like with creating a Patreon, do you feel like that's something that over the next like month you might be able to find some time to do, if you feel kind of like called to that? Or what do you feel your next steps would be in terms of creating content, or like working towards, you know, your entrepreneurial goals?
I'm not really sure. I would have to kind of think on that.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes down to like getting more clarity on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And again, and the clarity in that is also kind of reflecting on the question of what value do I want to provide. And again, and that's the thing, man, I think you have a lot of value in the way your mind works, in the way your mind is able to like see these ideas and to connect the dots. And so I think what I want to be able to like help you with is like, how do we get these ideas like onto paper, into notepads, and then eventually into like video format and into content. And it doesn't even have to be something that has to be like a super complicated 5-minute video. This is where, you know, take your knowledge and turn it into memes for Instagram, turn it into infographics, things like that. Like, provide, I think there's a lot of value in these ideas, and just being able to provide it in an entertaining, educational, and inspiring way is something I would encourage you to
I have
focus your direction
maybe an idea with a meme, maybe. Like, so with the anthropic principle, it's like this idea where an event, there's two events, either one or the other has to happen. And so maybe in the meme, it's like, there's a situation in the meme where like an event, like something, I don't know, like where one or the other has to or I don't know.
It could be like a Schrodinger cat meme or something like that.
Like a Schrodinger cat meme, yeah, like some sort of science meme. I'm gonna think of some sort of science meme.
I think so, man. I think that would be a good place to kind of like start studying, start looking at other science memes out there.
Well,
and dude, seriously, just start writing things down.
There's a lot of them,
and
there are, man. Memes like that, because sometimes it's too serious, right?
So yeah, I
But
think
it's the
bringing
same
that
thing, not
play
just
in
in
it.
academics, but that's also with spirituality. I feel like sometimes can
Yeah.
be so like both things. Like it's cool to that you can like just laugh at yourself.
Absolutely, man. That's what people, that's like, honestly, like when people are like browsing Instagram, they'll remember content that makes them laugh or makes them smile and things like that. So being able to master that is cool. Um, okay. Uh, Jacob, thanks again, man. I want to be able to pass over to Eddie, but if there's anything else that you wanted to say real quick, that's cool. And then we'll get close to wrapping this up. And Caitlin, if there's anything else, just to be able to like get some feedback or questions, we'll do some brainstorming before we wrap it up. But yeah, Jacob, anything else that you would just wanted to share real quick? And again, just kind of, do you feel like, can you feel a future where, you know, you're like making cool content and building a successful Patreon and things like that?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can see a future in
There's a
where
quantum
like
reality.
where I'm connecting with maybe other like-minded individuals, trying to
Totally.
create more awareness in terms of how can we make sustainable communities and how can we make better living practices for maybe teaching other people how to grow their own food and how to grow their own building materials and how to grow their own energy materials and how to create all time like their own clothes, how to create like all that kind of stuff instead of buying it.
Yeah.
Like how cool would it be to actually learn how to be more sustainable for yourself, you know?
Yeah, man. See, I could see, and I'll just say this and then we'll pass it over, but in terms of like getting some ideas as we're talking about this, I could totally see you branding something around like the concept of like how to live in the future today or something like that, or like how to get ready for the future. Something that's like futurism oriented type thing, you know, something that would kind of like get people excited. Like
Like
ask
futurism and
I'm future
activism kind of.
futurism activism there, like there you go, something along those lines, man. Like I encourage you, like after this broadcast or tomorrow, or next time you get a chance, create like a list, and this list should be relative to the question of like what do we need in the future, like what does society need to look like in the future, and create a checklist. Be like, okay, we need to figure out this, we need to figure out this, we need to figure out this. Every single thing that you create on that list is either going to be a video or a meme. It's going to be some piece of content, and again, that's your value. Like that's the value that you're providing people like that vision of the future, something to move towards, something to aspire towards. And again, I think that's really really valuable too, and it does fit in with like the themes of what we're creating here through Paradigm Shift as conscious creators and stuff like that, dude. So yeah, I would encourage you to just kind of focus on that one question of like what do we need in the future. And I know you got like a big list of that, and then even send me that list later. And if when you have the time, and again, I know you're busy with school and stuff like that, start kind of moving some ideas, and you're going to create your first meme, and then you're going to be like, whoa, that wasn't too hard. And then you'll create another, and then you'll create another. And then if you got your Patreon already set up as you start building your Instagram, that's going to be powerful that way. So when people find you right away, they're going to see your content, they're going to be like, hey, this is different, this is cool, this guy's serious about what he's doing, and he's got a Patreon that already has support. So just because you're brand new doesn't mean you have to like wait until you've like built reputation and stuff like that. You create your reputation as you start, and invite people to support you like pretty early on, man. So we can brainstorm some more about what your tiers might look like on Patreon. But again, I think there's a lot of like unique value in content that is kind of like wanting to come through you, and I want to be able to like hold space to support that and help keep the focus and things like that too. How does that sound, dude?
It sounds good. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you for that.
Sweet, man. Yeah, and again, I think kind of like playing with some funky terms. Like if you were to name your Instagram, I don't think it would just be your name. I mean, it could be. It could be like Jacob, your last name, you know, like future activist or futurism activism or something along those lines. But I feel like something focusing around future oriented will be something that people can kind of like relate to. You want something that they can kind of like see themselves in, and again be like, oh, this is actually providing me value, and it's not just entertaining. So but yeah, we'll get back to it. Let me know if you have any ideas on that, and
I think
we'll
like
talk more about
there's
it
a lot of good futurists out there, but it's like really entertaining to talk about for sure. Like because
it is,
that's what
dude.
leads to innovation.
Yeah, you know, one thing that man, this would almost be a video that I would want to make, is to kind of like do like a little video using clips from like already known movies about like a study of futurism,
Yeah.
and kind of create like a little cool video that has like footage from Blade Runner, footage from, you know, like any other movie that takes
science
place in the
fiction
future,
stuff.
science fiction, yeah, and the kind of be like what is our fascination with the future, where are we going in the future. And you could, dude, without even having to put yourself on camera, if you get familiar with editing and you get this footage in front of you and you get some nice music underneath and you get a voiceover, dude, that would be a really powerful video, man, of just kind of like using Hollywood clips and talking about the future, and again creating a call to action for people to be like, what do we want our future to look like, and start planting those seeds. And I know you're playing the long game too, and that's exactly what we want from, you know, people here on the team too. So yeah, dude, no, I think that'd be pretty cool, man. I think let's, you know, like over the next couple months and everything like that, I'm excited to see what we can create together. So cool, man. Sweet. All right. Yeah, anything else you want to share, dude? Does that, are we on the same page? Does that sound cool?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, sweet. Cool, man. And again, even like incorporating like your flowetry and your poetry, like write me a cool poem about futurism or something like that. That would be dope, man. Like that would be really, really cool. So
Yeah,
sweet.
like I'll take some inspiration from like some famous like science fiction, like, but also like like some stuff that I like is like what, like The Matrix and
Yeah. Yeah.
what's the one with iRobot, right? Like, and
Right,
stuff like
right.
that.
Ooh, that's exciting, man. I'm excited, yeah, because I'm a big fan of like futurism and stuff too. So I'm totally down to kind of like see what you can create and how I can help you create it and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, man.
Okay.
All right, so stay tuned. Jacob's gonna have his Instagram account up in the next month or couple weeks, or who knows, man. We just gotta figure out what we want to call it. So all right, okay, Jacob, thanks again, man. Really appreciate you being here, dude. Awesome. All right. So like I said, I want to get close to wrapping up the broadcast soon. Of course, I want to be able to pass over to Eddie, one of our members who've been involved with the community for quite a few years now. And Eddie, I appreciate you being here. And again, Eddie, we're kind of talking earlier, like you're kind of seeing things from a different perspective where you're not really looking at creating a Patreon, but you've created content in the past. I just want to be able to invite you to kind of introduce yourself, and if there is anything relative to what we've been talking about that you'd like to bring to the table, absolutely, I would love to be able to hear any thoughts, insights, suggestion that you would like to add.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Go right ahead, Eddie. Oh, and if you do have like any cool story of something beautiful that happened over the past couple of weeks, go for it.
Yeah, my life's pretty I don't know, low key at the moment. But yeah, I've enjoyed listening in. I've never really wanted to do a Patreon or like generate money from my knowledge or what I'm into. It's very different, like what I do with my life, to everyone else in spiritual communities and where they're at in life. I feel like I've kind of become disconnected from most people spiritually. Like what I do, all my focus in life in my spare time is just on higher dimensional reality and trying to understand it more, and like opening your third eye, having out of body experiences. And I don't think you can really create a Patreon or charge people money for that type of advice, because it's a pretty nutty subject that like very few people believe in the first place. And like, even if you are that way inclined, you never really get developed to the same degree that I have, because it's borderline genius, crazy consciousness, personal development. Like you have these moments where you feel like you've gone completely nuts, but then you just get through it and your emotions calm down and things change around. But like I'm an empath. I know I can connect intuitively with other people. Like it takes me seconds to kind of feel where someone else is at, whether they can help me or not. And I've never been part of a group. I've never had mentors. I've always self-educated. When you have out-of-body experiences, it's not something you can do in a group. It's a personal thing. What you experience with spirits and higher dimensional entities and the information that you interact with is also personal, and it's like, it's not in words like what we're using now. It's in thought form, and yeah, like when you interpret an out of body experience that is about emotions and thoughts into a lower dimensional awareness with words, it's like you a lot of it gets left out. It's like taking something that's in a deep color and spitting it out in black and white. It's really hard to relate. You've kind of got to use a metaphoric story and go, oh, do you get it? And yeah, so I don't know. I've really enjoyed listening in today, but I don't think I can add much value. And now,
Yeah.
Jacob, you've got a bright future in front of you. You're a very intelligent young man, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what to say today.
I'll tell you, like, man, Eddie, like, I appreciate having you here because again, like, I think, like, where, like, when we ask the question, like, okay, like, every person here has value to the team, and that's where I feel like your value, though it may not be like, hey, like, I'm gonna create a Patreon, it's more so like, hey, here's some like cool ideas that I can help shop, that I can help kind of brainstorm. Or again, you've already created some content in the past. There's like stuff that you've created in the past that could still be recurated. But again, I think I love having you around just for like the brainstorming, the feedback, the conversations, and even kind of, like, hey, what if I want to like interview Eddie for like kind of like something that might be like an anonymous interview with a guy who's like spent like 500 hours in DMT space or something like that, right? And we could just kind of like hype it up or something like that. But again, I feel that through your personal experience, there's a lot of value there. There's a lot of value as a messenger, even if it's not you being the messenger, but there's like information there. How do we get it from in Eddie into the community? And I guess this is a question I want to ask you, Eddie, is like, and for anybody here, like, what does the community need? What does it need right now? And what do you have inside of you that might be something that we could turn into content?
Well,
that
I'm still trying to
from?
learn more about who I am. Like, I'm definitely conscious of the fact that I'm like my entire existence, I'm not human. Obviously, my awareness in higher dimensional reality is tapped into this vessel, and I'm having this experience. But as time goes on, I just feel less and less human and more higher dimensional. And it's like I'm here just playing around. It's like I'm in the matrix. Like lower dimensional reality to me now is like a software program, and all I'm trying to do with my life is understand how the hardware works from a software point of view. And I'm trying to develop psychic skills. I kind of have these intuitive thoughts, feelings, knowings that like there's this big transition going on at the moment, and it's got to do with war, and a lot of the things that I think, feel, understand, know about is really scary. It's you can't express it to just your everyday person because it just frightens them too much. To realize that that we're not alone in the galaxy, in the solar system. There's a lot of self-aware creatures. There's a lot of technology that's mega advanced that we don't know about. There's a lot of psychological manipulation going on from non-humans towards humans, and it's all about control. Everyone's trying to trick everyone. Everyone's trying to get an advantage over everyone and actually develop. Our bodies are, like I've come to understand, are a form of technology. And most people think of themselves as a human. When really it's just an avatar. It's just a vessel. And I'm really trying to take advantage of what's inside this vessel, like the DNA type things that are not active. How do you get them to activate? Like, how do you, like, I believe that, like, we could levitate our bodies, we could levitate objects. I believe you could biolocate, you could like disappear from one spot and reappear in another spot. So you wouldn't need cars, airplanes, trains, buses, things like that. You like actually make it real to get it to work. I just don't know how. I'm at the kind of the thinking stages, all based off other human beings' experiences and the stories that they left for us throughout history, plus personal insights I've gained from exploring higher dimensions just by thinking about it. And I'm like, yeah, I've read a few stories, but I never really was convinced. I never really believed it that could be real. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, it's real. But you have to kind of venture in this direction and learn these lessons and go through these trials and tribulations. And if you can do it successfully and grow emotionally, grow consciously, mentally, and deal with a higher sense of consciousness and being able to know and understand things no one else can, then you kind of take a step forward in that direction. And it's kind of, it scares me a little bit. I'm very hesitant to actually leap in that direction. Like being an empath and being able to feel other people's feelings is one thing, but imagine, like, everyone knows about a Merkaba and the aura and stuff around our bodies. Like that energy is loaded with information. Like, imagine walking past someone or sitting next to someone and being able to become aware of their history, like of everything that made them up to that point, and like you're not even friends with them. Like you don't even say one single word, hi, how you going? You just sit next to them and you know everything about them, and then that a little bit of that becomes part of you too. And you've like, I don't know, I think it's very different with psychology. Like, I think one of the biggest parts of being human is having a deep sense of being personal and secrets, and like you only share what you want to share with other people. And what I'm learning about high dimensional reality and high dimensional energies is there's no secrets and everyone knows everyone's business. And that they're concepts that's based on stories I've read about ancient history, about different ages of awareness. Like, with the Yuga calendars that came out of India, with the Kali Yuga and the Golden Yuga and stuff. Like, we're in a Kali Yuga now where our awareness is really low, where there's a lot of secrets, there's a lot of behavior that people do, like negative traits. Where in a Golden Yuga, everyone's awareness is brighter and everyone knows everyone's business, and so everything is good and positive, and it has to be, because if it wasn't, everyone would just get called out for their shit. But yeah, I don't know, I'm like in this semi-enlightened, still very confused state of mind of I've got these ideas, I've got these ideals, I don't know how to develop them. Even if I did know how to develop them, would I want to? And yeah, I don't feel like I'm really in a position to be able to provide a service to anyone else to help them with their journey, because like I'm pretty messed up myself with all my shit. like imagine going to a doctor to try and get cured from a sickness, and the doctor was sicker than what you were. Like, you probably wouldn't have a lot of faith in their ability to provide the solution to your sickness, even though they might be knowledgeable in that type of information. So yeah, it's really weird. I feel like I'm on a threshold of awareness where I'm like half genius, I'm half crazy, and from day to day it changes. And I'm really just trying to do my best to stay grounded and better myself as a human. And like, I'm going to the gym, I'm going swimming, trying to sleep more, I'm trying to focus more on just being a good person, helping other people. And I'm really hoping that then might develop the discipline that I'll need, and the positive attitude that I'll need to be able to move forward. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this year has been really tough. This 2019 has been incredibly difficult. I think more than any year in the past for me. Like, I've had 4 jobs this year. it's like, yeah, the transformation with who I am as a person over the last 12 months has been absolutely immense. And yeah, I just have these moments of like clarity, then I have these intense moments of confusion. I've been extremely happy. I've been extremely sad. I don't know why anything's happening to me the way it's happening, but I always seem to get through it. Tomorrow's another day, and I soldier on. And yeah, it's, I don't know. I think when you go through these transitions and these lessons in life, and you reflect on your own suffering, your own happiness, the highs, the lows. You relate it to other people's highs and lows, and you can be a support for them, can be a rock for them. But I tend to have good advice when people ask questions towards me, because I've kind of been there and done that with a lot of things. I'm nearly 40 now. I've been in a relationship with my wife for 18 years. I've got a 14-year-old daughter. I'm well down the track in a certain direction with family, with work, with life in general, with creating success for myself as a human being. I'm comfortable, but I've got this extra stuff that I'm focused on with spirituality and developing consciousness. And yeah, I've never really found anyone else on my level that could help me like
Have you ever heard of Nietzsche? The
Nietzsche.
philosopher Nietzsche?
No, I haven't.
So he has this quote that kind of reminds me of the vibe of what you were kind of laying down. I think you might like it. This quote says, "What if some day or night a demon were to steal after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, 'This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live it once more and innumerable times more. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse this demon who spoke thus? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, "You are a god, and I have never heard anything more divine"?'"
Yeah,
Is that
like,
wild?
yeah, like I'll tell you, like the thoughts in my mind after listening to that, because I always relate everything to higher dimensional reality. Like a demon is
Yeah.
like is in the spirit world, in higher dimensional reality. Like heaven and hell are energies in the same environment, and there's good spirits, there's bad spirits, and obviously the good ones are a lot more advanced, but a lot of the good ones hold all of the darkness that the bad ones have. And the bad ones are just dark, where the really advanced good ones are darker than the bad ones, but
Exactly.
offset
So like
it
it's like the black
with
pill,
more light.
basically, right? Nihilism. It's
Yeah,
nothingness, basically.
it's really weird to like have everything, because it feels like nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
And until you focus it into an intention, it's just, I don't know, a possibility. It's
See,
yeah.
like that's just
Yeah.
one thing that I because in philosophy there's ideas of ultimate objective truth in existentialism, objective truth, and then there's subjective truth, and then there's both of those things failed us and there's no truth. And so it's like this is kind of like red pill, blue pill, black pill, purple pill.
The purple pill. I want that one.
So
Yeah.
that's like a
Yeah.
mixture of red and blue.
Like I'll tell you,
That's an Instagram channel right there. The purple pill.
a thought in my mind right now, like something to share. Like it got explained to me by some spirits in high dimensional reality that our human vessels can actually live a lot longer than what we think they can. And in an original format, when our genetics was like really fired up before it kind of got played around with by non-humans, like we were expected to live for 1,000 years. Our bodies were expected to live for 1,000 years, and our perception of consciousness in lower dimensional reality was supposed to develop relative to that. So you weren't really supposed to become really, really smart until you're about 300-400 years old. And yeah, and so like you make it relative to what's going on now. Most people live, say, on average for about 80 years, maybe 90 years, you know. So if you get to 80, 90 relative to being, you're supposed to be really smart around the 300-year mark, like you're a dummy. Like, so everything we think is,
we're all just Baby Yoda.
yeah, we really are. Like, and like it's really hard to think like
so the
that.
nihilism of an old man is just they're not even as developed yet.
Yeah,
Just because
absolutely.
they have all that experience that became that doesn't mean.
Yes, yeah. So this is where my crazy thoughts go off into pondering and delusions and things, like to try and create to get something creative that no one else has ever thought before. It's like, all right, if we can't really get super smart relative to other self-aware creatures that are out there that are controlling us, that are super smart, then what can we do now to try and create a resistance against that, to be able to rise up and supersede it? You know, so obviously the first thing in my mind is that we've got to learn to make our bodies live longer so we can have the time we need to develop our awareness to become really smart.
That kind of reminds me of Descartes. I think, therefore I am. It's like he has this meditation and these ideas where, like, what if God was a super genius, evil genius? What if existence in reality is not real? Like, what if my senses is deceiving me? And so he had this kind of existential crisis because of these thoughts. And then but as a result of these kind of ideas, he came to a conclusion: since I think, therefore I am, I must exist because I think.
Yes. Yeah, well, we all exist. Like,
I'm gonna jump in a second, guys. Go ahead.
Like there's an understanding I became aware of. Like, say that there's a group of non-humans that monitor consciousness development on this planet, and the way they do it is by monitoring our subtle energy. So they're not really concerned in our technology and what we create. All they really look for are individuals that turn into tall poppies, because your energy changes and they can detect that with their technology. So if a tall poppy pops up every now and then, and say, for instance, you could call a tall poppy a prophet or a messiah, someone that's deeply advanced with consciousness and spirituality, you know, they tend to just pinpoint on that person, and, you know, and end them. You know, it's like we're entrapped. We're in a prison, and the prison is the planet. And it could even extend as far as like the solar system. Like the whole solar system could be thought of like a prison, like a jail, and you can't escape it. And it's being monitored constantly by non-humans with advanced technology that can put a stop to anything they want if it rises up into a position that might become threatening to their control. And that's what I've tried to do over many, many years now, is like go under the radar of being detected and trying to raise my awareness to a point where I can resist. And I think I've been able to do that, but it's very, very challenging. Like, and what I'm talking about with non-humans that are super intelligent, that have their own technology, like the one thing that everyone could relate to is like grey aliens. Right, so grey aliens on average live for about 250 years. They've got like super genius awareness from a very young age, like from say 30, 40 years onwards, they're at the 250 IQ range. And you're talking about technology that's thousands and thousands of years in front of us. They can do anything. And they tap into your psyche. Like they're not going to stand in front of you and say, "Hey, how you going?" They'll try and mind control your awareness and your emotions and autopilot your behavior. And that's how they can cut down tall poppies. And it's a stage of awareness that I've stepped into now, where I'm constantly battling in my mind with my own thoughts, my own feelings. And you have these moments where you really think you've lost the plot and you've gone crazy. And it's very strange to be in dream.
I believe in you, man, because I had similar experiences,
Mm.
and I believe that they've visited
Guys,
us
we're
for
gonna wrap up
thousands
the
of
show shortly,
years,
just so you know.
and
Yeah.
they're actually reptilian humanoid. Greys are partially hybridization of reptilian and human
Yeah, well, I've come
in
to
ways.
I've come to an understanding too that a grey alien creature is it's like a biological computer.
It's exactly created
It's
by reptilians.
yes, yeah, absolutely, created by reptilians, but it's a biological computer. It's a vessel that doesn't have emotions, so
Yeah,
it's all it is analytical, but it's alive. So
yeah,
so you have a spirit from higher dimensional reality that has to incarnate into the vessel, just the same as a human being, but without emotions. So,
yes, yeah,
and all it is IQ. There's no EQ, and the IQ is like super advanced, like more than what our computers can work, more than what our AI computers can do. And yeah, it's just
yeah.
it's on a completely different level of thinking.
It makes you wonder though if there are aliens out there or entities with really high EQs, really
Yeah, that's a
high
good
like
question too.
Yeah.
emotional
But
intelligence.
there's
Like
stories.
It's
There's,
fascinating stuff.
yeah, and
yeah,
it's stories for another day. You can go on and on about it, but
We
we're
could.
getting a bit off subject. But yeah, you wrap it up, Brennan, and yeah, I look forward to the next one. And yeah, we'll see what thoughts and feelings come up, and if I can add value and be a support. But yeah, it was nice to be able to express a few words. I didn't really know that was going to come up, but yeah, or something else.
It's and I appreciate it, man, because it's all, again, like when we have these discussion circles, oftentimes like it will be a place for us to just practice talking about the things that we don't normally get a chance to talk about. And I know a lot of people in the chat were really excited about some of those topics. And again, like Eddie, I think within kind of like the niche of kind of what you are excited about talking about, there's a lot of value there just in terms of the topic conversations. And again, like that's where, like, Eddie, I want to be able to just kind of like listen to you and get some ideas and kind of like use that as inspiration, going back to kind of like what we were asking, the question of like what is needed for the spiritual community, what from Eddie's experiences can be sort of like turned into a message that can be relayed to the community. And it may not be something that may be relayed from you per se. Like it could be
I would say
me and Eddie having a conversation, and then we get some cool ideas, and then I'm like, okay, sweet, I'm going to create this into content. And you're kind of like there as like an assistant coach type thing, kind of like getting some stuff on paper and stuff, tactics wise.
The number one advice that I could give as a response like that is like every single person should have a higher dimensional experience, like an ayahuasca third eye DMT experience at least a few times. If you're spiritual and you are this way inclined in life and you enjoy these types of communities, you want to help people with their emotions, you want to help people with their life, making better decisions, developing consciousness, personal development, then the very, very first thing you have to do is create a foundation for yourself in regards to your own awareness. And to do that, you need to have a higher dimensional experience. You need to become who you are / shaman.
Right, becoming the Skywalker essentially.
Yeah,
Like
and then you'll
ahead,
always have like that's your foundation. That'll be where you're coming from to create your opinion at all times. Because if you are naive of the fact that higher dimensional reality exists, if you've never opened your third eye, then you are just a pawn in the game of life. And you know a pawn on a chessboard is just the smallest piece. You want to step up into that type of king, queen type position on a chessboard to then be able to provide whatever service you're interested in to other people that are still pawns, and allow them to rise up to the same awareness that you're at, and like if you can't get out of your body, if your mind can't get out of your body, if your perception is 100% lower dimensional reality and you've never had an out of body experience, like you're stuck, you're confused, you're just like anyone else, even if you think you're not. And like, we're not humans. Like, we're driving a human vessel. We're spiritual beings driving a human vessel in lower dimensional reality, and you've got to have that shamanic experience outside of your body to then be able to think in a different way, to have like chakras and energy and emotions activated inside your vessel to be able to create direction with your opinions, or you'd just be like giving advice with a blindfold on instead of directing people with a proper intention to try and help them understand themselves more in regards towards enlightenment being the final goal, like to being fully enlightened and understanding that we're not humans, we're just having a human experience.
Yeah, Caitlin, did you want to reply to?
I'm so interested in what you're talking about. I had Eddie. If I could ask you a question?
Go for it.
Yeah.
So I had an out of body. I don't know if it was an out of body experience, but I took LSD and I felt like I had it went from a really good experience to a really horrible experience, and I felt like, I don't want to say death, but like I felt like it put me in a place where I didn't want to live, but I didn't want to die. And I feel like since then, because you were saying how some days you feel really great and sometimes you don't, I've had a hard time coming out of that, and I'm just wondering, would that be because of that experience? It was acid.
Well, from
But I
what
have
I
to do
know,
it again, like to
nah, not necessarily. But from what I understand is with that substance, it's an expanding of your senses in lower dimensional reality. So your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions tend to expand relative to the lower dimensions. And that's simply a stepping stone towards higher dimensional awareness. And like, to be able to have those thoughts and feelings and experiences can then change your perceptions as in a direction. You might start thinking about something, you might start learning about something that you otherwise never would have. And it can be confronting because a lot of people tend to live their life like with tunnel vision. And when you have one of those experiences, that tunnel vision starts to open up. And it can be very emotionally challenging to have your awareness expanded without realizing that that's what's going to happen. As
An ego
a lot
death.
of, well, a lot of people carry a lot of shadow that they're not aware of. They tend to repress a lot of parts of their psyche and in their minds to maintain that tunnel vision, and all the shadow stuff is outside of the tunnel vision. And when you expand your awareness, all of a sudden you're becoming conscious of all the stuff that is unconscious, and then that can challenge your perception of who you are as an individual. And a lot of people don't like being challenged by their own personality, that they're actually more than what they think they are, and they've got a lot of shadow. It's not darkness. It's just stuff that you've repressed, that's made you that you don't think about, that is kind of like a ball and chain. And when you start to think about it, it gives you a chance to acknowledge it and incorporate it into your conscious mind. And and a lot of people have a natural fight or flight instinct, where they might run away from it and they might not want to acknowledge it. But if you can acknowledge it and incorporate it into your conscious being, it tends to strengthen you, because Because I've got to get ready for work. I got like 5 minutes, and I've got to get out of here. But
Oh man.
time,
Mysteries of the
time's got
universe.
me by. But this is like deep psychological stuff, and I'm not really in a position to provide sound advice where I could say, listen, this is where you're at, this is what you should do. That's what trained psychiatrists and psychologists and behavioral therapists focus on. They've got the degrees, they've gone to university, they've listened to the lectures, they've had to write down things, and if they're a PhD, they've had to incorporate the best of the best that's already in that field and then develop an essay that's tried to expand that field even further. These people are deeply committed to their art and understanding this subject. Where I work in a factory and I push buttons on a machine and I make shapes out of metal, and I have this as a side hobby. So I know a little bit, but I'm not a doctor. The questions and the answers you're looking for.
Right.
I'm not in a position to provide you sound advice. And if I tried to, it would be like you going to your corner shop where you buy milk and bread and asking them to fix the problems of your life.
So
would you
suggest doing like you said, ayahuasca? Because I was thinking about doing that, but I am very empathic myself, and when I feel it's painful.
Yeah, it is. The higher dimensional experience with ayahuasca and opening your third eye tends to connect you with a spiritual therapist. So you gain insight about yourself, just like going to see a psychiatrist, but it's a higher dimensional psychiatrist that you'll connect with, and that'll be a spiritual entity. But it doesn't happen straight away. Like, you've got to do it a few times. You don't just tune into high dimensional reality and you're in a psychiatrist's room and they're telling you all your problems.
I've done some reading into that kind of idea of like that spirit guide with ayahuasca.
Isn't
it called like Mother Aya or something? Isn't that what she called it?
We'll have to talk
but I'll tune in next time, and for sure, we could talk more.
We'll talk more, we'll go deeper.
Yeah, but absolutely look into it, Caitlin. Look into it a bit further. But if I could say any advice about higher dimensional reality, it's about learning the psychological nature of yourself from a higher dimensional perspective. And you can do that exactly the same by going to see someone who's trained in those psychological
I feel like we do it every night too. You don't have to also, in dreams too.
You don't have to have
I'm trying to get out of my mind completely so I can see myself outside myself, but I'm still attached in some way, obviously. So like you said, it takes many times of doing it.
And a lot of people just aren't ready for it. Sometimes it's a lot more gentler to actually.
It's a big decision.
Well, you can go and speak to another human being rather than going to speak to an alien.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the first.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not avoiding. Yeah. You're not trying to take a shortcut or anything like that.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. You lead into it. Do you want to go and speak to like an alien that you've never met before about your deepest emotional problems,
or just talk to a human and
absolutely.
Right.
So all right. It was
Eddie,
great.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you later, dude.
Yeah.
Much love.
Be well.
Thanks, dude. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
All right. So just kind of again, just adding like a bit of a bookend to that topic, which is absolutely like a super interesting, fascinating topic. And again, we here on Paradigm Shift Radio, Paradigm Shift Central, do not encourage or condone the use of illicit or illegal substances, etc., etc. And honestly, with any of that stuff, it really is something where you want to make sure you're doing your research and you're really kind of like taking your time in making any decision like that. But again, with what Eddie was saying, just from my own sort of like words to put around it, context to put around it, again, I think as much as Eddie's saying like, oh, you have to kind of have those higher dimensional experience, I don't think he's saying like you have to, but I do think it is something where there is a lot of value when you have had those experiences where it's beyond the point of just being something theoretical, and it's something where it's like, oh, like I have experience like being outside of my body, or I have experience, like like being in that higher dimensional space. But again, that is something that can be accessed through dream work, through meditation, through breath work, and things like that. So just reminding people that don't think that like the solution to your problems is in ayahuasca or is in like working with like any of these psychedelics, which are very, very sacred and powerful tools that require a lot of respect. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they will give you what you need. And I think the best way to be able to approach them is to honor doing the work internally and without them beforehand, and then kind of like showing up to them. Personally, for my own preference, I like to be able to like show up with these medicines from a place of like celebration, opposed to from a place of like, oh, I'm going this because like I hope it will give me something that's gonna like fix me or something like that. But instead, just like knowing that work doesn't, you don't need those medicines. But at the same time, again, when we're talking about ayahuasca, there's plenty of people who will give you fascinating accounts of like a lot of internal spiritual metaphysical healing that has occurred through these experiences with working with ayahuasca, which again is something like I can't directly speak on, having not done ayahuasca yet. Once I do, I'll give you my two thoughts on it. But again, that's a whole nother discussion for another time. And again, just another quick thank you to Eddie. Again, I think for those of you fellow leading members, if you feel called to reach out to Eddie, send him a message. Maybe it's just something where you might want to be able to bounce some ideas back and forth off him. He's got a lot of really cool experience. And again, I think there's a lot of value in just having him at the circle, at the round table, to be able to provide some insight to help us kind of piece together the puzzle. And and just be able to like work with him in terms of brainstorming and getting some more ideas on the table. So with that said, we're going to get close to wrapping this up. This broadcast did go longer than I had intended it to go, and I know we kind of like got into a few topics there, but I appreciate everybody holding space, and I know a lot of people in the comments were enjoying the discussion, so thank you again, everyone. And just kind of like wrapping things up, we'll pass the talking stick around real quick for Caitlin and Jacob, just again to just kind of like express any gratitude, anything else that they would like to communicate with the circle, and just kind of reflecting like how are you feeling in terms of those next steps, in terms of entrepreneur stuff, conscious creation, everything of that matter. We'll just do that real first, and then we'll just end off with some closing notes. But again, for everybody here, be sure to check the show notes after the broadcast to be able to connect to the Instagrams of the people you heard in this broadcast, including Bevin, although not Jacob yet, until Jacob creates his Instagram account. But yeah, we'll pass it around. Caitlin or Jacob, if one of you wants to go, again, just kind of express some gratitude. How are you feeling right now in terms of getting clarity on your next steps for entrepreneur stuff, conscious creation, and anything else you might want to express? Caitlin, Jacob, do one of you want to go first? Either or's. Caitlin, go ahead.
I really liked what we went over. I think it gave me a lot of insight on the Patreon and how it could help me, and I definitely will take in what you said and kind of like revalue and look over what exactly I want to put my focus in too. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you again, Caitlin. Happy to be able to have you here, and thank you thank you for your support, signing up, investing in yourself as a leading member, and supporting the team. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to just like brainstorm some more between this and future broadcasts, and help get more of your content featured to the audience. And yeah, we'll take it one step at a time. So cool. All right, Jacob, passing over to you. Any gratitude you want to express, or anything else relative to what we talked about today?
Yeah, everything we went over today, I'm grateful for. Thank you for all that great information on the Patreon stuff and on the Instagram stuff. Definitely want to get into that and posting more memes having to do with what I'm passionate about. And yeah.
Cool, man. There's some chat that was happening when we were talking and stuff like that, and there's one phrase that came up that I think could actually be a possible option for an Instagram account, and it was remember the future or remembering the future, something along those lines. I've said that phrase before. I think it was Geronimus who said that in the chat. But yeah, like that could be. And I was checking on Instagram, there are some accounts called remembering the future, but you could you could create one too and get like the URL instagram.com/remembering.the.future. Like that's actually available. Oh wait, no it's not. But anyways, actually remembering, let me just try this. Remembering the future dot, okay, sweet. Remembering dot the dot future is theoretically available, which could be a thing. But again, I want you to be able to kind of like listen to your heart and kind of like get some ideas on paper. And I think even just figuring out like what would be the name of your Instagram and your YouTube channel, and then again having your Patreon kind of like with your name, and then having these projects underneath it. And you know, over the next few weeks, if we can kind of get some memes out and stuff like that, we'll talk about that in the team chat and stuff. I think that's a getting the ball rolling, and that's essentially all we're doing here, you know, getting the ball rolling. And then again, creating something where it's not even like separate from your schoolwork. Make something where it's like if you're working on stuff in school, you could actually kind of like take something from what you're working on and then kind of like create content out of that, so it's kind of like synergizing with where your focus already is. That would just be like kind of like my couple pieces of advice that I could kind of offer in this space. So but yeah, any thoughts on remembering the future or something something
Yeah, I like that.
future?
That's cool.
It could work.
It could work. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we'll play with this more. Jacob, anything else you want to share? Just gratitude for people tuned in or anything? Go for it. Message for the people out there.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for everything that for this broadcast, and we'll keep staying tuned for more.
Awesome, sweet. Caitlin, any message for the people out there if you want to share before we wrap it up?
Yeah, same. Grateful for the experience and keep watching for more. I had a really good time listening to everyone. I learned a lot. So
perfect. Awesome. And for those of you on the Instagram chat, humor me, test this out. I'm gonna post Caitlin's Instagram into the comments. So it's sahara.anima, and go ahead and maybe just like leave a comment on her post and just be like, hey, I saw you through Paradigm Shift Central tonight. And so if you can do that, then again, that's just kind of like a cool way to show what we're doing here is working. And yeah, and stay connected with Caitlin, and once Caitlin decides what she wants to offer, maybe there might be something there that you'd be interested in. So cool, sweet. All right, so with that said, we're gonna wrap up this broadcast. I thank everyone again for tuning in. Those of you in the future, those of you watching this live, again, join us live on Sundays for more future Synergy Circle broadcasts. Even with the Synergy Circles, we kind of change it up. Like even with the Synergy Circles, it's kind of me asking like, what is needed? What do we need to talk about this week? So next week, maybe we'll have a specific theme, and maybe we'll just talk about Star Wars. I don't know yet, but I want to be able to make it something that's going to be valuable to the community. And we are going to be we're going to be doing more of our Dream Class broadcasts. We haven't done that in a little bit, but those will be coming back in 2020. I'm going to be doing more Waking Up with Wolf broadcasts in 2020. Again, right now, we got a lot of focus just on being able to build the team Instagram page and reaching our goal of 200 by 2020 on the Patreon, and then just helping get people situated as leading members within the community. That's kind of the main focus from my end of things as you know, just pulling levers and captaining the ship for Paradigm Shift Central. But again, building the team and bringing people to the table and leveling up and collaborating and sharing awesome ideas and inspiring. And for you here as a listener, as a viewer, you are a part of this table. So thank you again. Please feel free to continue to leave your comments, your feedback, your engagement is always equally appreciated. A reminder, make sure that you're following the Paradigm Shift Central on Instagram, the team page. Follow the new posts. Monday to Friday between 3 and 5 p.m. is when we feature new featured content creators. So between that time, when you see one post go up, like all three. Let's beat the algorithms. That's essentially what we're doing. We're like hacking the algorithms using like actual timing and schedule and getting people into this habit. And share the post from there to your stories, tag Paradigm Shift Central, help us reach 10K. That's something that is super like appreciated for anybody who's helping out on Instagram. So thank you again. And for those of you on YouTube, keep subscribed, like videos, go back out, check the past 12 guided meditation. If you haven't yet, treat yourself to it. Super awesome content there, and a lot of other cool stuff happening within the community that we're excited to be able to share with you. And thank you again, everyone, for, again, just, we'll celebrate more as we do it in future broadcasts, but 2019 has been such an exciting year through Paradigm Shift Central, and so thank you again, everyone, for your support. And as we move into this decade, it's just going to get like bigger and better. So so with that said, everybody in the comments, if you enjoyed this broadcast, just drop those 1111s in the chat. Reminder, if you would like to be able to either just support this broadcast on Patreon with a monthly contribution, be sure to check out patreon.com/Brendon Culleton. If you want to become a leading member, sign up at the $11 a month option. And when you sign up at the $11 a month option, you can also claim a Lumerian Light Guardian Crystal. And as a special offer, I'm just kind of putting this offer out there to see if anybody's interested. I'm offering to be able to give a full Lumerian chakra set, which is like 7 of them or 8 of them, at people who want to sign up for the $33 level. So that may be only something I'll offer to a couple people. I'm like, does anybody want that? Because I want to be able to like make something that, again, is going to be able to invite people on at higher levels. So it's helping us reach our goals and to be able to provide awesome value for people at those levels as well. And of course, at that level, you can also be involved as a leading member. So if you have any questions about that, you can message me on Instagram.com/Mystic Spider-Man. And yeah, thank you again so much. Be sure to check out more on ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Connect to our team chat if you haven't already yet. And if you want to connect further, connect to our team chat. The link for that is in the info for this video on YouTube. And please feel free to just keep synced up, and looking forward to being able to continue to co-create what it is that we are doing here as a team of conscious creators and leaders every day, helping assist with the shift in consciousness. So remember, it's the little things that make the difference. Your kindness, your compassion, your creativity, it is helping change the world in some very important and powerful ways. So for everybody here, on behalf of all the shifters, thank you so much for joining us once again through the Paradigm Shift Central Synergy Circle broadcast. Jacob, Caitlin, go ahead and join me in making some noise as we thank everyone for tuning in once again, and we bring up the outro music. So say, thank you, everyone. We love you. Until next time.
Thank
Make
you,
some
everybody.
noise. Woo, woo, woo. Go team.
Till next time.
All right. We'll see you guys in the YouTube, the chats, the Instagram, all of that and more. Much love. Keep it shifty, and we'll see you in the future. Thank you again to Danny Leonardo, whose music is featured at the beginning and end of this broadcast. Be sure to check out more of their work in the link in YouTube below. Thank you, Danny.